Chapter 2793. Divine Guard Bloodline. Sure enough, those who could become Fragmentation Realm exceptional talents all had their own unique techniques that made them famous. Some were innate talents, some were martial arts, and some were elite weapons. Traceless Devil Seal. When the seal in his hand became more and more dazzling, that youth slapped out with his palm. A mysterious melody immediately filled the air, futilely increasing the pressure in the surroundings. Traceless Devil Seal. It's Feng Wuhan. Is this guy planning to seize all of their realm essence? Seeing this, the expressions of the distant exceptional talents became serious. This Feng Wuhan's divine body had a terrifying special ability. When facing an injured martial artist, he could seize all of the other party's realm essence, turning them into a cripple. Normally, to seize all of an exceptional talent's realm essence was extremely difficult. However, right now, Chen Nan and the others were risking their lives to block the attacks of others, continuously suffering injuries. This made it easy for Feng Wuhan. This guy had clearly been waiting for this moment for a long time. Hurry up and retreat. Don't pay attention to Lin Ling, he might already be dead. The Imperial Court exceptional talents in the distance all began to shout. However, under their shouts, Chen Nan and Fian exchanged a look. Not only did they not retreat, they instead attempted to block that palm together. Crazy! Many people immediately shook their heads. They knew that from today onwards, among the 100 exceptional talents, there were 2 less. Chen Nan and the others were definitely going to be crippled. Rumble! That mysterious palm enveloped Chen Nan and the others' heads. Wisps of powerful suction force were born, making Chen Nan and the others sense that their realm essence was crazily disappearing, and even their innate talents were disappearing. It seems like we've been crippled. Moreover, we've helped Feng Wuhan. The 2 of them exchanged a look, immediately laughing bitterly. In reality, they could have avoided that palm, but if they did, that palm would have landed on the sword cloud behind them. That was why they didn't dodge. Haha, I never thought someone would be hit by my Traceless Devil Seal. Haha, my strength is going to increase by 30%. That exceptional talent called Feng Wuhan laughed excitedly at this moment. It was as if he had eaten Chen Nan and the others alive. It was to the extent where he was already looking forward to his own strength increasing greatly. Xueqi and the others also laughed, gloating even more. However, at this moment, the sword cloud suddenly surged. All of the swords seemed to have been summoned and shot over like a sea of swords. They appeared above Traceless Demon's palm, and then 10,000 swords slashed out. Rumble! The hand that had sealed and absorbed everything was immediately severed. At this moment, everyone's expressions changed greatly. The sword cloud on the 5th level had actually dispersed? What was going on? Bastard! Feng Wuhan was undoubtedly the most furious. He had almost succeeded. Who was it that had ruined his plan? However, while he was enraged, the sea of swords immediately shot towards him after destroying the palm. Retreat! Feng Wuhan's expression changed, and he frantically retreated. However, even though he was fast, the sword clouds were even faster. Whoosh! The sword pierced through the sky. Feng Wuhan was cut into 7 or 8 pieces. His corpse fell from the sky and smashed onto the ground. It was a ghastly sight. Silence. A deathly silence. Whether it was Xueqi and the others, or the exceptional talents before the finish line, they all looked at the man in the sky. That man stood there quietly, his blue robes fluttering. His expression was extremely cold. It was Lin Ling. He was actually not dead. Countless questions arose in the hearts of the exceptional talents, and they seemed to have forgotten to breathe. Junior brother Lin Ling. On the contrary, Chen Nan was the first to shout. He discovered that Lin Ling had actually charged out of the sword cloud's pursuit. At this moment, Lin Ling nodded coldly. His gaze was on Xueqi and the others in the distance. Previously, he had been comprehending the last layer of the Ashura sword formation. In the end, his sword domain had been comprehended to the peak, and his ultimate sword Dao had greatly improved. Then he saw this scene. In reality, the swords on the 5th level were indeed extraordinary. They came from all the deceased swordsmen of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, and they were their swords. Although these swords were powerful, they still had sword souls. However, they were masterless. If one sword control reached the point of perfection, then they would be able to control these swords. And the Ashura sword formation was an emperor-level sword Dao that controlled swords. When one cultivated it to the peak, they would naturally be able to control these swords. In fact, Lin Ling was not the first person to control 10,000 swords. On the 6th level, there was also an exceptional talent who relied on this method to pass the 5th level. Chen Nan, Fian, you two go and rest. Leave the rest to me, Lin Ling said to Chen Nan and the others. The two of them nodded. Although they were a bit worried, there was nothing they could do to help right now. Lin Ling, be careful. They are all fragmentation exceptional talents. Fian still reminded him. After all, although Lin Ling had taught Xueqi a lesson last time, she also knew that Xueqi had not erupted with his full strength. Otherwise, who would have won and who would have lost might not have been certain. Who among you attacked me? Get out here now. Lin Ling's gaze fell on Xueqi and the others. Within his eyes, flames of anger burned. He also saw that because he had used his sword to clash with the 10,000 swords, this had stimulated the sword will of the sword cloud. That was why the 10,000 swords were all aimed at him, and these exceptional talents could have safely left. But who would have thought that after taking advantage of them, they would not only not be grateful, but instead attack him? Did they think that he, Lin Ling, was a kind person? I attacked, so what? You are Lin Ling, right? Who gave you the courage to speak to an exceptional talent of the water splitter realm? On Xueqi's side, the exceptional talent spoke with cold expressions. Moreover, they looked at the 10,000 swords in the sky and discovered that those swords began to recede like a tide. Moreover, they did not move towards the end, but instead seemed to have disappeared from the 5th level. Therefore, they did not fear Lin Ling. Moreover, Lin Ling did not even count as a fragmentation exceptional talent. Lin Ling, right? Thank you very much for attracting all the swords and allowing us to pass through the 5th level. Before, I was just a bit curious about the sword cloud, so I attacked. What? You can't accept it? As a junior brother, could it be that you do not know that whatever a senior brother wants to do, a junior brother should help? Who taught you in the Imperial Court? You are so immature. Does the Imperial Court know? The exceptional talents also spoke one after another, as if the one in the wrong was Lin Ling, and not them. It was to the extent where they were telling Lin Ling that Lin Ling could help them pass through the 5th level, so that was Lin Ling's fortune. Fine. When he saw this, Lin Ling did not waste any more words. He first looked at Xueqi. It seems like you do not care about your big brother's words. However, the matter between you and me, we will settle it later. These talkative people should be the ones who attacked before, right? Fine, then you pieces of trash can die. After saying this, he took a step forward. His blue robe fluttered, and he took the initiative to shoot towards one of them. Humph, not even at the peak of the true immortal realm, who gave you the courage? The exceptional talents who attacked exchanged a look. One of them had an irascible temperament, and he immediately attacked. He took a step forward, and with each step, he grew a bit taller. In the end, he became a giant. Divine Guard Bloodline. Chapter 2794. What a terrifying Ashura sword formation. These giants weren't weak at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been qualified to become divine guards. This meant that the exceptional talent who attacked would definitely surpass the true immortal realm in the future. Lin Ling is only at the 7th stage of true immortal realm. Although his reputation isn't weak, can he block an exceptional talent of the darkness-breaking realm? Then, everyone's eyes fell on Lin Ling. There was a hint of expectation in their eyes. Even Chen Nan and the others were the same. They knew that Lin Ling could defeat many exceptional talents. However, they had never seen him fight against an exceptional talent of the darkness-breaking realm. Most importantly, they saw that Lin Ling didn't seem to make a move against that indomitable giant. He just shot forward. Lin Ling, what was he trying to do? The giant was also stunned. He couldn't understand. Was Lin Ling here to die? However, since things had already reached this point, he immediately erupted with a huge amount of realm essence. It transformed into a palm and ruthlessly slammed towards Lin Ling. This palm was like a mountain that could shatter the heavens. It was terrifying. However, when everyone's eyes fell on Lin Ling, they were shocked to find that Lin Ling still hadn't made a move. Could it be that he wanted to meet force with the bloodline of a divine guard? However, just as the giant palm was about to land on Lin Ling, swords appeared. Those swords seemed to have been summoned and shot out from Lin Ling's body. Their speed was extremely fast. It was as if there were sharp boundaries that protected Lin Ling tightly. Lin Ling leaped past them. Those swords cut through all obstacles in his path, including his giant palm. Even when Lin Ling approached the giant, the countless swords also cleared away the obstacles. In a few breaths of time, the giant was cut into pieces. Plop, plop. When pieces of flesh fell to the ground, everyone sucked in a cold breath. This sword formation was too terrifying. Everyone looked at Lin Ling again. They discovered that countless swords were dancing around Lin Ling's body, cutting through everything. The swords were indeed protecting him. Take this. Split the heavens and earth. However, at this moment, the three-headed and six-armed ancient god's hammer appeared above Lin Ling's head. The six giant hammers seemed to be able to smash through the myriad of worlds as they smashed down with unparalleled might. Earth core, hammer core, force core. Before the hammer descended, many people cried out in alarm. This was another shattering exceptional talent, and what made him famous was precisely this move. It was rumored that when this hammer descended, the sound waves affected the 1,000 realms. It was terrifying to this degree. You're the third. Lin Ling suddenly raised his head and pointed with his right hand. The swords around Lin Ling gathered together to form a giant sword. As if controlled by Lin Ling, it slashed toward the sky. Rumble! The giant hammer and the giant sword collided, and the momentum was earth-shattering. It was as if two giants were battling. Ka. Lin Ling sensed that his opponent's hammer was extremely extraordinary. If it was in the past, he would have to explode with all his trump cards to defeat his opponent. But now, he didn't need to. This was because his Omega Sword Dao had improved dramatically, and his sword heart had surpassed the level of 100%. This was also the power of the Ashura sword formation. Break for me! With a shout, the giant sword released a power that could cut through the myriad of worlds and slash toward the sky. Kacha! The giant hammer in the sky immediately shattered, and light sputtered in all directions like shooting stars. The exceptional talent who attacked also appeared in the sky. At this moment, his face was filled with astonishment. Impossible! I have 50% Earth Core, 30% Hammer Core, and 30% Force Core. My primal chaos energy has reached 100%. Lin Ling, your strength has entered the shattering exceptional talent level. This one is willing to admit defeat. Then, that person suddenly thought of something and quickly fled. This was because his giant hammer couldn't shake Lin Ling. This meant that Lin Ling's sword had surpassed the level of 100% sword heart. Every shattering exceptional talent had their own unique techniques that made them famous. Now Lin Ling also had one. However, he wanted to leave just because he admitted defeat? Lin Ling sneered. He pointed with his right hand, and the terrifying giant sword shot into the sky, cutting that exceptional talent into pieces. This time, the exceptional talents of the 5th level were shocked. It had to be known that the two exceptional talents who attacked before were both shattering exceptional talents. However, before they could fight, they were directly killed by Lin Ling's sword. This Lin Ling was only at the 7th level of true divinity. This was just too heaven-defying. How could they know that even if Lin Ling hadn't comprehended the final layer of the Ashura sword formation, he already didn't fear shattering exceptional talents? There are still 2 people left. Yes. At this moment, Lin Ling's gaze finally fell on Xueqi and Xueqi. Their expressions were grave, extremely grave. Attack. His sword formation isn't weak. We must disturb him. Xueqi finally understood why Lin Ling made his big brother feel apprehensive. It was because Lin Ling's strength was truly terrifying. Not only was his realm essence boundless, even his martial arts were so profound. Woo-woo. After roaring, Xueqi immediately played his flute, and a mysterious melody filled the air. At this moment, Lin Ling was walking forward, but his footsteps were forced to stop. He seemed to have been disturbed. Look at those swords. They're actually not controlled by him. Everyone also noticed this change because the swords that killed the hammer-wielding exceptional talent were still floating in the sky. They didn't move with Lin Ling at all. Lin Ling was controlling the sword formation, and sword formations needed to be activated. However, it was clear that Xueqi's flute had affected Lin Ling's control over the sword formation. A very powerful sword. But so what if he can't control it? Lin Ling, I've seen through your weakness. Of course, the happiest person was Xueqi. He seemed to be telling everyone that the one his big brother saved last time wasn't him, but Lin Ling. Time-cold secret scissors. When Zhuo Zhao's flute affected Lin Ling, another fragmentation exceptional talent also made his move. Moreover, his first move was his strongest technique. He also knew that ordinary techniques were useless against Lin Ling, so he activated the mysterious scissors. When the scissors appeared, a large area of ice and snow bloomed in the sky as if the world was frozen. A giant crystal scissors came from afar at Lin Ling. The sky seemed to have turned into paper and was easily cut open. This pair of scissors was clearly the same as Zhuo Zhao's flute. It was extremely extraordinary and was an ultimate immortal treasure. This time, Lin Ling was in danger. This was because everyone could see that Lin Ling's sword formation was no longer under his control. "Lin Ling, be careful," Fian immediately cried out, but Lin Ling ignored her in the sky. Instead, he walked towards the giant sword. Many exceptional talents shook their heads, thinking that Lin Ling was definitely unwilling, so he tried to control the sword formation again. Lin Ling's sword has more than 100% sword heart, but unfortunately, he can't use it. Everything is meaningless. If the sword is not unsheathed, what use is it? It's useless. My Gen Mountain Profound Flute specializes in breaking through external objects. As long as it's not your body, everything will be under my control. Lin Ling, feel regret and pain. Wait a bit. I'll let you know my power. Your sword formation will not only belong to me, but I will also control it. At this time, Zhuo Zhao roared. His flute was indeed frightening. As long as it was an external object, he could actually control it. It could be considered heaven-defying. I'll kill him first. However, before Zhuo Zhao could control Lin Ling's sword formation, the giant ice scissors in the sky had already arrived. Moreover, the scissors were already aiming at Lin Ling. With just a pinch, everything in this world would be cut apart. Chapter 2795. Controlling the Azura Sword. The fifth layer of the Azura Sword formation. 10,000 swords return to the heart. It doesn't mean that I can control more swords or that I'm stronger, but it means that I can control the Azura Sword at this moment. A faintly discernible voice suddenly rang out. Everyone watched in horror as Lin Ling's arm landed on the giant sword, and he actually lifted it up. One had to know that the sword was 1,000 li long and 100 li wide. It was formed from countless swords, but Lin Ling was actually holding such a sword? From afar, the scene was extremely spectacular. A small and thin figure was actually holding a sword that was 1,000 times larger than him. The sword even moved. A horizontal slash. Rumble. There was no complicated martial art, just a horizontal slash. However, the ice scissors were immediately cut in half, completely destroyed. Moreover, the sword didn't stop. It directly cut that exceptional talent who used the ice scissors into pieces. This is the Azura Sword. His footsteps changed. Lin Ling's gaze landed on Zhuo Zhao's body. He carried the giant sword and walked forward step by step. At this moment, he was like an overlord. Zhuo Zhao was still playing the flute, but the more he played, the more panicked he became. This was because the blue-robed youth in front of him wasn't affected at all. In other words, he was already affected and couldn't use the sword formation. But what did it matter? If he couldn't use the sword formation, then he would use his own sword to kill. Azura Sword. In particular, the giant sword on the blue-robed youth's shoulder caused Zhuo Zhao's lips to tremble. He even wanted to ask Lin Ling if it wasn't heavy to carry such a giant sword. As for the sword's power, Zhuo Zhao had seen it for himself. With a sword heart that exceeded 100%, none of the previous exceptional talents could stop that sword. Lin Ling's strength clearly exceeded his imagination. Tell me, did your big brother save you or me? Lin Ling's steps were steady, and his cold voice floated out. Last time, if it wasn't for Zhuo Zhao's big brother stopping them, Lin Ling and Zhuo Zhao would have fought again. At that time, Lin Ling said that Zhuo Zhao's big brother, Zhuo Hai, had saved Zhuo Zhao, but Zhuo Zhao didn't think so. Instead, he felt that his big brother had saved Lin Ling. Now, Lin Ling wanted to ask him who his big brother was saving. I'm not fighting anymore. Zhuo Zhao's eyes flickered. He knew that if he met force with force, it would be a strenuous and fruitless task for him. Zhuo Zhao is afraid of Lin Ling? The other exceptional talents in the distance were all shocked. Zhuo Zhao was the zither and flute duo, and his reputation among the fragmentation realm exceptional talents was not weak. However, such a figure was actually afraid of a newcomer, Lin Ling. Not fighting anymore? The giant sword in Lin Ling's hand moved, slashing at Xueqi. Are you crazy? I have the bloodline of the left minister. Xueqi's eyes widened. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so decisive, not giving him any face at all. Meanwhile, when that sword slashed over, Xueqi's face became as pale as paper. He activated his realm essence and grasped his flute, attempting to block that sword. Hong long glong. His flute was indeed unordinary, actually blocking that sword. However, despite this, Xueqi was still struggling. He spat out a mouthful of blood and shouted angrily. Lin Ling, don't be too arrogant. If I fight with my life on the line, it is still unknown who will emerge victorious. Hong long glong. However, what welcomed him was a second sword. Xueqi's eyes widened rigidly. Lin Ling did not say a single word, directly answering him with powerful strength. Kacha! Under the second sword, cracks appeared on his flute. You have a good big brother. Unfortunately, you have let your big brother down. Lin Ling's third sword hacked down crazily again. This time, Xueqi was completely terrified. He wanted to flee, but that sword was too big, as if it was the sword of Green Emperor. You promised my big brother that you wouldn't touch me. His voice was mixed with panic, and there was even a hint of begging for mercy. It seems that Xueqi's big brother, Xueqi, did save him last time. Hearing that sentence, the people finally reacted. The irony was that Xueqi did not understand his big brother's painstaking efforts, and instead came to provoke Lin Ling again. Now that his big brother was not here, who could save him? As a martial artist, you have repeatedly asked your big brother for help. You don't have to cultivate on the path of martial arts. However, this time, Lin Ling clearly did not plan to let Xueqi go. If he held back, how could he face Chen Nan and the others? Therefore, this sword showed its sharpness, the giant sword that broke the world. The left Prime Minister's residence will not let you go. As the sword approached, Xueqi knew that he could not escape death. He gritted his teeth and made a blood oath. A ray of light shot into the sky and disappeared into the distance. Obviously, he had told the left Prime Minister's residence everything that had happened before he died. Unfortunately, he could not block that sword. Under that sword, Xueqi was cut into nothingness. Lin Ling stood in the sky, holding the giant sword, and said indifferently, I'll wait for them. He's dead. Xueqi could have entered the next level, but in the end, he interfered with Lin Ling and ended up with his soul scattered. Perhaps this is what they mean by if you don't seek death, you won't die. Everyone inwardly shook their heads, moreover looking at Lin Ling with serious expressions. They finally knew that Lin Ling's strength was extremely great among exceptional talents. They had underestimated Lin Ling. Of course, they still found it hard to believe. After all, Lin Ling was the strongest first generation not long ago, but now he had entered the ranks of the first generation. Chen Nan, let's go. At this time, Lin Ling waved at Chen Nan and Chen Nan on the ground. The two of them were still in shock, especially Fian. Her eyes were filled with worship. She thought to herself, perhaps that sword is Lin Ling's final trump card. However, it is indeed powerful. Lin Ling's strength had always been a mystery. Now, it had finally surfaced. Meanwhile, Lin Ling brought Chen Nan and Chen Nan forward. He was actually a bit happy. This fourth level allowed him to benefit greatly. His strength had greatly increased. Wherever they passed, the surrounding exceptional talents were all silent. Right now, they no longer dared to carelessly provoke Lin Ling. If you want to enter the fourth level, each person has to hand over 100 Emperor crystals. Right when everyone wanted to enter the next level, Lin Ling's voice suddenly drifted over. This time, the pupils of all the exceptional talents narrowed. They had to pay to enter the next level? Moreover, 100 Emperor crystals. This was a bit too expensive, right? One had to understand that Emperor crystals were the essence of divine crystals. A single piece of Emperor crystal was priceless. This fourth level was opened by me, and I, Lin Ling, have never done anything that would cause me to lose out. That is why you have two choices. 1. Leave this place. 2. Pay up. Lin Ling said indifferently. Earlier, he was surrounded by the sword cloud, and none of these exceptional talents helped him. That was why he didn't give them any face. 100 Emperor crystals, Lin Ling, aren't you robbing us? After a moment of silence, an exceptional talent who wasn't young frowned and said at this moment. Even though Lin Ling's strength made him feel restraining fear, Lin Ling's appetite was a bit too big, right? Hearing this, Lin Ling laughed. Am I not robbing you right now? Rumble. Chapter 2796. The Fifth Layer. Wait. That exceptional talent's eyes landed on that enormous sword, and he immediately waved his hand. That sword's power was something he had witnessed before. It could be said to be a sword that could cut vegetables and melons, and he had confidence that he couldn't block that sword. But 100 Emperor crystals is too much. We can't take it out. The other exceptional talents also smiled bitterly. Lin Ling immediately smiled and said, if you don't have money, you can leave the fourth layer. No one will stop you. If you want to continue, then I'm sorry. This smile looked a bit amiable, but in everyone's eyes, it was like the smile of a demon. At this moment, they were filled with regret. They shouldn't have joined in on the fun and should have entered the next layer earlier. I don't have much time, so if you all are still hesitating, then I'll make the decision for you all. Lin Ling said again, making those exceptional talents' expressions change greatly. Without another word, they immediately handed over their Emperor crystals. Of course, during this process, their hearts felt as if they were dripping blood. Thank you. Lin Ling's smile became even wider. With a wave of his hand, he brought Chen Nan and the others into the next layer. For him, this Copper Sparrow Terrace was not a bad place, allowing him to gain quite a bit. He hoped that the next layer would also have good gains. Meanwhile, when they saw Lin Ling leave in a carefree manner, those exceptional talents all began to gnash their teeth in anger. On the fifth layer, after passing through the dusky corridor, an enormous world of wind appeared before everyone's eyes. The roiling astral wind seemed to surround the universe, making the exceptional talents' expressions become a bit more serious. Lin Ling, this fifth layer, I won't leave. Chen Nan and Fian thought for a bit, and then immediately said. They sensed that those winds had existed for countless years, perhaps even since the beginning of the universe. They couldn't stop those winds. Of course, the other exceptional talents were like this as well. This Copper Sparrow Terrace was indeed becoming more and more difficult. Unless one has strength several times greater than normal, who can walk out of this layer? It seems like we have to give up, Sai. As exceptional talents, and even shattering exceptional talents, how can we give up so easily? The exceptional talents all had their own thoughts. A few exceptional talents who were confident in themselves took a step forward, entering the fifth layer. Rumble. However, there was no shortcut to the fifth level at all. Unless one could block the onslaught of the strong winds, one would die without a doubt. Those confident exceptional talents, as soon as they entered, immediately released cries of alarm. Their true deity martial souls were actually stirred up by the wind. Their entire bodies also began to distort endlessly. In the end, they were crushed to death. This time, the exceptional talents outside the Great Gate were stupefied. The fifth level was too terrifying. Looks like there are no more than 20 people who can enter this level. An exceptional talent said with a serious expression. Subconsciously, they also looked towards Lin Ling. Right now, among the exceptional talents who came out of the fourth layer, only Lin Ling was the strongest. That was why they wanted to see if Lin Ling dared to leave. Seeing how arrogant he was before, I'm afraid he won't dare to leave now. I think so as well. He can only be like us, only able to watch from outside as even more powerful exceptional talents seize the Green Emperor Imperial Jade Seal. Now you know how to keep a low profile. These exceptional talents whispered to each other. Even though they didn't dare say this in front of Lin Ling, the smiles on their faces were full of complacency. Chen Nan and the others also saw these smiles. They immediately released a cold snort, moreover looking at Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling didn't even give the other exceptional talents a look, instead saying to Chen Nan and the others, since you all have given up, then just wait outside the Copper Sparrow Terrace. I'm going in first. When these words fell, Chen Nan and the others' pupils narrowed. The other exceptional talents were also like this. However, Lin Ling already walked in with large steps, moreover not showing the slightest bit of hesitation. This fella is definitely courting death. Many exceptional talents secretly began to look forward to this. They clenched their fists, wishing to see Lin Ling be crushed to death. Unfortunately, they were about to be disappointed. It was because Lin Ling discovered that the mysterious strong winds of the 5th level were actually exactly the same as the wind and clouds of Cloud Holy Land, to the extent where they came from the same place. Back then when he walked through Cloud Holy Land, Lin Ling had suffered quite a bit. So now, this 5th level was instead extremely simple for him. It was to the extent where he was a bit expectant, hoping that the following levels would all be the same as Cloud Holy Land. As he stepped in, the roiling strong winds rushed over, wrapping around Lin Ling, wanting to crush Lin Ling to pieces. The strength of these strong winds could be said to be without any blind spots. Meanwhile, everyone also saw that Lin Ling's figure couldn't block the strong winds at all, actually moving along with them. Haha, Lin Ling, you've suffered a bit. Call for help. We're waiting for you to call for help. Moreover, we want to see who can save you. Voices of Schadenfreude also sounded one after another. Lin Ling wasn't in front of them, so these exceptional talents clearly became unrestrained. However, before they finished speaking, within the roiling strong winds, an indistinct voice transmitted over. It seems like you all are very displeased with me. Then fine. I'll remember you all. As the voice drifted out, the pupils of those exceptional talents who were rejoicing in Lin Ling's misfortune all narrowed. This was because within the strong winds, they saw Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling was blown around by the strong winds, it was very clear that Lin Ling was indeed fine. Moreover, Lin Ling looked like he was being stirred up by the strong winds, but they felt that Lin Ling was borrowing the wind to move forward. This was moving with the wind. Ah! This is impossible. This is his first time here. Those exceptional talents spat out this sentence in horror, as if they had seen a ghost. Unfortunately, they didn't know that this wasn't the first time Lin Ling came here. Last time, when he faced these winds and clouds, he was moving with the wind, comprehending the rhythm of the wind from there. You all, I'll remember you. Lin Ling's voice drifted out again, causing those exceptional talents' faces to turn pale. There were even some who fiercely slapped themselves, cursing their mouths for being so cheap. In reality, they were also 100% sure, which was why they dared to mock Lin Ling before. However, the reality exceeded their imaginations. Right now, they were filled with regret. With Xueqi as an example, Lin Ling was extremely vicious and merciless towards all of his enemies. They mocked Lin Ling, so even if they didn't die, they would definitely be ruthlessly extorted by Lin Ling. Pah! When he thought of this, another exceptional talent fiercely slapped himself, moreover angrily cursing himself. Kwang Kai-jun, I already told you, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. How could I forget this? Looking at his appearance, he was clearly incomparably vexed and regretful. This made Chen Nan and the others all laugh. Their eyes moved about, yet they discovered that Lin Ling was walking further and further ahead. He might be able to leave the 5th floor. Let's watch him from here. Chen Nan and the others immediately became excited. Meanwhile, there weren't many people on the 5th floor, only 11, and they were also the 11 most powerful exceptional talents. They didn't have Lin Ling's calmness, all of them relying on their powerful strength to forcefully resist the strong winds, moving against the wind. Chan Mo, Tian Wuzi, 3 Marks Heavenly Monarch, and the others are also here. Among the exceptional talents outside, they discovered a few familiar faces. These people represented the various giants, the most powerful exceptional talents, as well as the top 10 exceptional talents. Chapter 2797. Tianwu Prince. However, the 81st Prince is not here. Could it be that he went to the next level? However, there were also people who exclaimed. The 81st Prince was the most mysterious existence among the first generation. Moreover, he was also one of the Azure Emperor's descendants. Rumor has it that he was only 20 years old this year, but his strength was already unfathomable. There were even rumors that he was one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province. However, outside of a few individuals, the rest of the 9 heavens were all mysterious characters, so no one could be sure. However, if the 81st Prince was one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province, then this was absolutely shocking news. This was because a 20-year-old was one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province. This was an earth-shattering genius in the 9 provinces. After all of the first generation had cultivated for 2,000 years. Tan Tai Bing Dai is also not here. Chen Nan's eyes swept through the entire 5th level, but he couldn't find Tan Tai Bing Dai. The 5th level clearly had a better view than the 4th level, and the area was also much smaller. Of course, without the mysterious astral winds, This level was actually very easy to traverse. Senior sister Tantai Bingdai is the first-generation representative of the imperial court. Could it be that she is also hiding some powerful methods? Fian curiously asked. Even though they knew each other, it didn't mean that they were familiar with each other's methods and origins. Not to mention anything else. Just Lin Ling was an example. Even though Lin Ling was also in first generation, his strength was beyond everyone's imagination. This is great. If Tantai Bingdai can reach the end, then our imperial court will win. Chen Nen couldn't help but become excited. If the imperial court won, then not only would their reputation rise, but they would also obtain great rewards. That's right. Fian also became excited. In your dreams, Tantai Bingdai is not here. Maybe she is already dead. So this Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal can only be taken by our Blue Flame Army. Your Blue Flame Army is too naive. It should have been taken by our Imperial Dragon Court. Speaking of the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal, the first generation outside the door didn't give in because they heard that if a giant obtained the seal, then they would be able to obtain a part of the Emperor's will. No one wanted to miss this mysterious power. Wait and see. Chen Nan didn't compete with them and replied indifferently. Everyone's eyes quickly landed on the 5th floor. Right now, the experts of the 5th floor were still advancing, as if they also sensed the exceptional talents outside the Great Gate. Who killed Zhua Xiao from the left minister's residence? At this time, a roar unexpectedly passed through the astral winds, landing in the ears of the exceptional talents outside the Great Gate. Tian Wuzi. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they stared at a bald young man. This young man was also dressed like a scholar, but because he was bald, he was somewhat dazzling, but also seemed wise and mighty. Most importantly, this Tian Wuzi was ranked 4th among all of the exceptional talents. It was rumored that this exceptional talent had even defeated the great Qing Divine Dynasty's Divine Guards. He was extremely powerful. One had to know, Divine Guards were existences that surpassed the true God realm. They were existences that the true God realm could only look up to. Lin Ling, who is it? Tian Wuzi stopped and looked at the door coldly. He obviously knew who killed Lin Ling. Before Zhua Xiao died, he used a secret technique to inform the left minister's residence. Although Tian Wuzi wasn't of the Zhua clan's bloodline, he was still a member of the left minister's residence. He had the responsibility to protect this noble bloodline. Lin Ling. Hearing this, the faces of the exceptional talents on the 5th floor changed. Several of them recognized Lin Ling. They were none other than Xian Linglong and Meng Lu. This guy really wants to see the world plunged into chaos. Meng Lu's cultivation didn't seem high, but he was able to reach the 5th floor. From this, it could be seen that he was hiding a powerful trump card. As for Xian Linglong, she was the daughter of the Black Warrior House. The Black Warrior was a divine beast with powerful defense, thus she wasn't eliminated. However, at this moment, they were worried about Lin Ling. Because when they were heading to the 5th floor, they had fought with Tian Wuzi. In the end, the two of them had to work together to stop Tian Wuzi, thus they knew how terrifying this guy was. Lin Ling is from the Imperial Court, Xian Linglong. Who do you think he is? Tian Wuzi bellowed, veins popping out on his bald head. Why should I say? Although Xian Linglong was wary of Tian Wuzi, she had her own pride and dignity, thus she did not answer. You and he are both from the Imperial Court. You must know. I insist that you say it. Tian Wuzi's voice deepened. Like a giant, he walked toward Xian Linglong and Meng Lu. Although his pace wasn't fast, his resistance to the 5th floor's astral wind was extremely strong. And the reason was that he had a grade 2 divine physique, the floating Buddha Brilliance Pagoda. This was a talent that could stabilize the wind. Not to mention a mere astral wind. Even the 7 emotions and 6 desires couldn't shake him. Tian Wuzi, you're only relying on your longer cultivation time. Otherwise, do you think I'm afraid of you? Seeing this, Meng Lu also hurried toward Xian Linglong. In truth, although he was currently weaker than Tian Wuzi, he was confident that given enough time, he would surpass Tian Wuzi sooner or later. Because he was from the 9 prefectures 10 vicious. I believe you, but that's in the future. Tian Wuzi's pace was steady. When he walked toward Xian Linglong and Meng Lu, his eyes were also looking at the door. Because Lin Ling had just arrived from the 4th floor, he must be hiding among the exceptional talents outside the door. It was just that he didn't know who he was. Tian Wuzi, Don't be reckless. However, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded, as if it wanted to persuade Tian Wuzi. Xueqi, Xuexiao is your brother. Now that he's dead, you're actually helping an outsider. Tian Wuzi immediately stopped. A Buddha image appeared on his forehead, making him look like a Vajra, like a Buddha. He turned around and walked towards Xueqi. Xueqi was resisting the astral wind and used his zither. Now that Tian Wuzi was leaving, he immediately frowned. In fact, he was also surprised that Lin Ling killed Xuexiao. However, he was sure that his brother was the one who provoked Lin Ling because he could see that Lin Ling was not someone who would go back on his words. Since he promised not to touch Xuexiao, he would definitely not touch him. Of course, his brother's death made him very angry, but he knew that it was his brother who broke the promise first, so he could only helplessly do nothing. The most important thing was that he felt that provoking Lin Ling would result in a terrible outcome. I'm not helping an outsider, I'm helping reason, Xueqi said again. However, at this time, a golden palm passed through the astral wind and grabbed at him. Wherever it passed, the surging astral wind was shattered. This Tian Wuzi's strength was so terrifying. Tian Wuzi, are you crazy? Seeing Tian Wuzi attacking him, Xueqi was shocked. His hands immediately moved and played the zither music of the 5 mountains and rivers. Suddenly, a strange change occurred. Surging mountains and rivers appeared in the 5th floor along with divine weapons from 10,000 worlds. Chapter 2798. You want to kill me? So powerful. Both of their talents aren't weak. Xueqi's zither should be the Mountain Sea Zither, forged by a senior from Scarlet Province. The exceptional talents outside the gate all said with serious expressions. They finally witnessed the strength of the most powerful exceptional talents. These exceptional talents, placed below 5 Ring City, were all godlike existences. Hong Long Glong. However, that Tian Wuzi's strength was clearly stronger. With a grab of his large hand, he actually crushed mountains and rivers. Thousands of soldiers and horses were all grasped within his palm. The enormous palm was like the palm of a Buddha. His 5 fingers suppressed heaven and earth. The endless army could only run within his palm, unable to escape from his 5-finger mountain. Pang! That Buddha palm suddenly clenched, and all of the soldiers and horses were turned into ashes. Ultimate martial path, Buddha domain, and one with a complete Buddha heart. At this moment, Xueqi's face immediately paled. However, before he could say anything, a palm grabbed him, and with a sudden clench, he spat out a mouthful of blood. As the descendant of Lord Left Minister, you shouldn't help an outsider, and even more so shouldn't help reason. Lord Left Minister is the heavenly law. Today I won't kill you, but you should take care of yourself. That Tian Wuzi was extremely domineering. With a wave of his hand, Xueqi shot towards the gate like a shooting star. Along the way, he was twisted into a bloody mess by the mysterious astral winds. If it wasn't for the fact that Tian Wuzi didn't want to kill him, Xueqi might have been twisted to death by the astral winds. Pang! When Xueqi smashed into the gate, all of the exceptional talents' minds were shaken. It was because Xueqi was able to reach the 5th layer, so his strength was unquestionable. He was even stronger than his younger brothers Xuexiao, yet he couldn't stop Tian Wuzi's attack. This Tian Wuzi was too terrifying. Tian Wuzi has cultivated for 3,000 years, one of the longest among the exceptional talents. It is rumored that in the last 1,000 years, he comprehended the Buddha heart under the screen of true Buddha, and in the end, he cultivated the Vajra divine palm. Indeed, in terms of age, he is above us. However, this person's temperament is like Vajra, too tough. Those exceptional talents spoke one after another, feeling great reverence towards Tian Wuzi. Meanwhile, Meng Lu and Xian Linglong's expressions changed greatly. If Tian Wuzi took action against them, Tian Wuzi definitely wouldn't show mercy. I am indebted to the Lord Left Minister. His bloodline cannot die in vain. Tian Wuzi once again walked towards Xian Linglong and the others. His imposing manner made Meng Lu and the others narrow their eyes. They knew that a battle to the death was inevitable. Moreover, although they had fought with Tian Wuzi before, Tian Wuzi didn't want to waste time. His main target was the 81st prince, so it was only a warm-up. If they really fought to the death, they might not be Tian Wuzi's match even if they worked together. What an unlucky fellow. The other 2 most powerful exceptional talents on the 5th floor sneered. They were respectively Chan Mo and a 3-mark Heavenly Monarch. They didn't care about this matter at all. In their eyes, all of the exceptional talents were ants. Only the 81st Prince and Tian Wuzi were the true exceptional talents. Wait, I know who Lin Ling is. But at this time, a clear voice suddenly rang out, causing Tian Wuzi to stop in his tracks. He looked around and discovered that the one who had spoken was a delicate girl. This girl also came to the 5th floor not long ago. However, she was very weak and didn't have any chance of passing through the 5th floor, so no one paid attention to her. Many exceptional talents even knew that this girl might die under the mysterious astral winds. And she was Tian Luochen. Tian Luochen. Outside the door, Chen Nan and the others immediately cursed. Tian Luochen, if it wasn't for Lin Ling's help, she would have died on the 1st floor. But now, she actually betrayed Lin Ling? Speak. Tian Wuzi let out a cold snort. I can use my boundary essence to draw his appearance, but if I tell you, you have to agree to 2 conditions. At this moment, Tian Luochen's face was extremely pale. She was risking her life to resist the astral winds. She already knew that these astral winds weren't something she could withstand. In another incense stick of time, she would die. That was why she made these conditions. Speak. I, Tian Wuzi, am a man of my word. Although Tian Wuzi was angry, because he had comprehended a Buddhist heart, he wasn't someone who would go back on his word. The first condition is to release Xian Ling Long and the others. The second condition is to take me away from here. Tian Luochen immediately said. All right, I promise you. Tian Wuzi immediately nodded. Meanwhile, Tian Luochen immediately used the remaining realm essence to draw Lin Ling's appearance. She was also a powerful exceptional talent, so her control over realm essence had reached perfection. That was why the drawing was so vivid and lifelike. Buddha's eye. Tian Wuzi stared at the portrait and let out a low roar. The golden Buddha image on his forehead suddenly opened its eyes. A terrifying thing happened. His Buddha's eye seemed to be able to see through 10,000 worlds. It actually passed through the astral winds of the 5th floor and swept through Qing province, searching for Lin Ling in the boundless world. What terrifying methods! Not being suppressed by the universe's primal chaos, this is a true expert. Seeing this, the expressions of the exceptional talents outside the door changed greatly. But soon after, their pupils constricted because Lin Ling was currently on the 5th floor. With Tian Wuzi's methods, he wouldn't be able to easily find Lin Ling. This was indeed the case. I found you, shameless junior. Tian Wuzi seemed to have discovered something. He punched out and actually caused the astral winds to flow backwards, rolling towards a corner. Rumble. At this moment, Lin Ling didn't know what was happening on the 5th floor. Although the area here wasn't large, there were a lot of astral winds, so he had been moving with the wind. However, at this moment, a sense of danger surged into his heart, causing his expression to change slightly. For the first time, he broke free from the astral wind's control and shot towards the other side with a 7-realm speed. Bang! 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 Just as he moved, the Buddha's fist arrived and smashed the astral winds into pieces. Tian Wuzi's strength was indeed terrifying. Lin Ling also appeared and frowned as he looked at Tian Wuzi. At the same time, Xian Linglong, Meng Lu, and the others also looked at Lin Ling because they didn't know that Lin Ling had reached the 5th floor. Junior brother Lin Ling, I'm sorry. Tian Luochen was the same, but she immediately apologized because if she didn't ask for Tian Wuzi's help, she would have died. What's going on? Lin Ling's body moved with the wind, but his voice was cold. No one would be in a good mood if they were suddenly attacked. Lin Ling, Tian Wuzi knows that you killed Zhuo Xiao. He's the 4th strongest among the 1st generation, so he wants to kill you. He also wanted to attack us before, but that woman stopped him. Meng Lu hurriedly explained what had happened before, allowing Lin Ling to understand. However, he also looked at Tian Luochen. He didn't expect her to betray him. One had to know that apart from the 1st floor, Tian Luochen couldn't have reached the 4th floor without Lin Ling's help. This woman seemed to have a strong will, but she was clearly a heartless person. Lin Ling, don't blame me. I said that I can't give up halfway. I can only go further and further. Tian Luochen knew that his plot had been exposed, so his expression became cold. I don't blame you. Chapter 2799. Fighting Tian Wuzi. That's right. Yes. Tian Wuzi's face was cold as if he was talking about something normal. Tian Wuzi, don't be rash. Lin Ling and I have already reached an agreement. We will not interfere with each other's business. Therefore, Lin Ling definitely did not kill my brother on purpose. Yes. But at this moment, Xueqi also spoke from outside the door. He looked at Lin Ling and said, Lin Ling, I just want to ask, did my brother start the fight? If he didn't attack, you wouldn't have killed him, right? Yes. Although Xueqi hated Lin Ling, it was undeniable that he had strong principles. Xueqi was the blood of the left minister. He was pleading for mercy for Lin Ling. Perhaps, Tian Wuzi did not kill Lin Ling because of Xueqi. Yes. Seeing this, Shen Linglong said in a low voice. However, Meng Lu shook his head. Lin Ling is a proud person. He will not lower his voice for the sake of his life. Therefore, not only will Lin Ling admit to it, he might even take the initiative to kill Xueqi. Yes. Then won't he be killed by Tian Wuzi? Shen Linglong thought about Lin Ling's character and felt the same way. Lin Ling was a person who could be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. The more you threatened him, the more he would resist. That might not be the case. I have a feeling that Lin Ling is the strongest among the first generation of the imperial court. Meng Lu frowned and said. His words made Shen Linglong's pupils shrink. She was speechless for a moment. She knew that Lin Ling was strong, but he was the strongest among the first generation of the imperial court? This was even more terrifying than she had imagined. Of course, Shen Linglong did not believe Meng Lu's words. However, their guesses were confirmed. Lin Ling would not lower his voice for the sake of his life. At this moment, Lin Ling said indifferently, although he made the first move, that guy also wanted to kill me, so even if he didn't make a move, I wouldn't let him go if I had the chance. When these words fell, Xueqi's pupils immediately narrowed. The exceptional talents outside the door were also speechless. Xueqi was clearly pleading for Lin Ling, but who would have thought that Lin Ling wouldn't accept it at all? This time, Xueqi clearly had nothing to say. Xueqi, shut up. As a member of the left minister's residence, how dare you plead for mercy for others? When we get back, the left minister will definitely punish you. Now you just stay there and watch. I will avenge your brother. Tian Wuzi didn't want to waste any more time. Stepping forward, a powerful and domineering aura gushed out. If the Dharma of Buddhism is boundless, Vajra will subdue demons. Alas! When he saw this, Xueqi could only release a light sigh. Meanwhile, the exceptional talents at his side all began to look forward to it. Tian Wuzi was the fourth strongest among the exceptional talents, and Lin Ling's strength could not be underestimated either. When the two of them clashed, who knew what kind of sparks would blossom? Of course, most people believed that Lin Ling would definitely die. Golden Tiger Great Evolution Fist. His aura condensed to the extreme, and Tian Wuzi punched out. Golden light shone and an ancient pagoda descended. It actually shattered the surrounding astral winds. Only a lunatic like Tian Wuzi dared to fight on the 5th floor. The other exceptional talents, let alone fight, even walking was extremely difficult. Rolling fists mixed with a domineering aura rushed towards Lin Ling. Lin Ling's eyes instantly flashed. Tian Wuzi was very strong. He was at the peak of the true immortal realm, and he had a second-grade divine body. Moreover, his martial arts weren't weak either. This kind of genius who had both talent and martial arts in one body was undoubtedly the most difficult to deal with. If Xueqi was compared to Tian Wuzi before, he probably wouldn't be able to block a single move from the latter. Melody of the Wind. Without much hesitation, Lin Ling erupted with the speed of 7 realms and dodged that fist. However, that fist was terrifying, and it still cut off a strand of his hair. That strand of hair also fluttered to the ground. Rumble! As for where Lin Ling was standing before, there was a huge conical astral wind there. At this moment, it was blasted apart by that fist, turning into countless tiny astral winds that shot out in all directions. What a powerful attack! Seeing this, the exceptional talents outside the door all changed their expressions. The 5th floor didn't seem to have any effect on Tian Wuzi. In the left minister's residence, you can kill anyone, but the Xue bloodline is not something you can touch. If you touch a single hair, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Although that fist didn't kill Lin Ling, Tian Wuzi knew that Lin Ling couldn't escape even if he grew wings. His words were cold and emotionless. If it was anyone else here, they would have already lost their will to fight and would only want to run away. However, how could Lin Ling be an ordinary person? Before, it was Tian Wuzi who attacked, but now it was his turn. Lin Ling didn't wait for his figure to stop. With a clap of his right hand, Azura sword shot out, welcoming the astral wind and rushing towards Tian Wuzi. Crackle! Once the Azura sword's array appeared, it was like a sea of swords. What? Tian Wuzi thought that Lin Ling was only a so, but who knew that Lin Ling was also so strong? Seeing the 10,000 swords shooting at him, he immediately activated his talent, causing the ancient pagoda to fall from the sky and protect him like a pagoda. Ding ding dang dang. The 10,000 swords struck the ancient pagoda, producing crisp sounds, but they couldn't shake the pagoda. Even so, Tian Wuzi's movements were still a step too slow. His sleeve was cut off and fell to the ground. At this moment, the 5th floor was silent. Everyone looked at the sleeve on the ground, then looked at the strand of hair that was cut off by Lin Ling. Each and every one of them were shocked. They had never imagined that Lin Ling would be able to retaliate in kind against Tian Wuzi. You're only at the 7th level of True God Realm, but you've comprehended the sword heart. Tian Wuzi roared. He seemed to be furious because this was the first time he was injured by a junior after becoming an exceptional talent. Most importantly, the other party wasn't ranked in the top 10. He probably wasn't even a fragmentation realm exceptional talent. Therefore, this was a great humiliation to him. First seal, floating Buddha Brilliance Pagoda. Tian Wuzi unsealed his true god martial spirit, doubling his strength. He could fight against a martial immortal realm expert. Behind him, a shining pagoda appeared, making him look like a Vajra. It was clear that he couldn't kill Lin Ling with martial arts, so he could only use his powerful talent. As for true geniuses, most of them were people with outstanding martial arts and talent. However, it was clear that most of the geniuses were more talented than others. Vajra Divine Palm. A palm that was even larger and more glorious than before slammed towards Lin Ling. Rumble. That palm shot out from the ground like a siege chariot. It sucked in large amounts of astral winds from the 5th floor, forming a wind Buddha palm that had the power to destroy everything. Some exceptional talents near Tian Wuzi didn't even have the chance to make a sound before they were crushed to pieces. These exceptional talents died pitifully. They were only watching the battle, yet they were implicated. They probably died until they didn't even have tears left to cry. When this palm appeared, Meng Lu, Xian Linglong, and the others' expressions became serious. That palm, among exceptional talents, was definitely an existence that could be considered a king among exceptional talents. Chapter 2800. An all-out battle. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes were sharp and cold like a swordsman. He reached out with his right hand and a strange thing happened. The 10,000 sword shot towards him and turned into a huge ancient sword. Lin Ling held it in his hand and then slashed towards Tian Wuzi's palm. Rumble! The collision this time was like an avalanche. With Lin Ling and Tian Wuzi as the center, world essence gushed out in all directions. The astral winds on the 5th floor were affected by the two of them. Lin Ling can fight against Tian Wuzi head-on? Sigh. Tian Wuzi used the first seal and his innate divine physique is of the 2nd rank. Sigh. Did you see that? Tian Wuzi's innate divine physique had no effect on Lin Ling. Moreover, a huge mouth appeared behind Lin Ling as if it had swallowed a lot of world essence. Sigh. Seeing Lin Ling block Tian Wuzi's attack, the crowd was shocked again. After all, Tian Wuzi was not like Xueqi. Interesting. Looks like you are an underestimated exceptional talent. Sigh. At this moment, Tian Wuzi also knew how powerful Lin Ling was. The irony was that he didn't know this exceptional talent. Of course, he was sure that other than him, the 81st Prince and the others definitely didn't know Lin Ling. You are pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, right? Be careful not to turn into a real pig in front of me. Sigh. Tian Wuzi maintained his attacking posture, but the golden light on his body became more and more resplendent. It was as if he had turned into a real diamond with a natural aura. He didn't believe that Lin Ling's sword was this powerful. This time, he had clearly fused martial arts into his innate talents, increasing the power once again. At this moment, Lin Ling was holding the huge sword in his hand like a supreme sword god. However, his sword was also emitting a buzzing sound, and his expression was extremely serious. In the next moment, His body moved and disappeared from the spot along with the melody of the wind. Lin Ling can't stop it anymore. He is retreating. When they saw this, many people's minds relaxed, as if they were looking forward to this scene. Perhaps they didn't want to see an up-and-coming youngster instantly reach the 4th rank of the most powerful exceptional talents. Even Meng Lu let out a light sigh. His thoughts were the same. He didn't want Lin Ling to be so much stronger than himself. Haha, is that all you've got? Noticing that Lin Ling had retreated, Tian Wuzi smiled contemptuously. You're thinking too much. However, if we continue to fight, then the person you promised to protect will definitely be killed by the astral winds. However, after Lin Ling stopped in his tracks, he said faintly. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was puzzled. It's falling dust. Chen Nen suddenly shouted. He understood what Lin Ling meant. Because skyfall dust was being enveloped by the strong winds on the 5th level. Even though she was fighting desperately, it was clearly useless. So, it was impossible for her to escape the fate of being minced apart by the strong winds. Previously, Tian Wuzi had promised Skyfall Dust that he would protect her, but because he clashed with Lin Ling, he didn't fulfill his promise. Lin Ling didn't seem to want Skyfall Dust to affect their battle, so he retreated at the crucial moment. This guy actually has the mood to pay attention to others when he's clashing with Tian Wuzi. The other exceptional talents also understood what Lin Ling meant, and they were even more shocked. This Lin Ling, how prideful was he? Even if he had to fight with the 4th strongest exceptional talent, he wouldn't be willing to take any advantage. This was a true martial artist of our generation. At this moment, Tian Wuzi also sensed Lin Ling's thoughts. His expression kept changing. In the beginning, he hated Lin Ling very much and even disdained Lin Ling. But now, his view of Lin Ling had changed. This was because Lin Ling was a very principled and arrogant guy. Even though I'm a decisive person, I have the heart of Buddha, so I'm not someone who goes back on my words. Lin Ling, I owe you a favor. Tian Wuzi walked toward Skyfall Dust. He wanted to protect her because this was his promise from before. Those who had comprehended the heart of Buddha could subdue demons and devils, but they would definitely do what they said. Otherwise, they wouldn't be Vajra Buddhas, but devils. Thank you. At this moment, Skyfall Dust looked at Tian Wuzi and relaxed. Don't thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank him. He was the one who reminded me. Tian Wuzi coldly replied, causing Skyfall Dust to quickly look at Lin Ling. At this moment, she suddenly felt incomparably guilty. Lin Ling had helped her on the 1st, 4th, and 5th levels. Unfortunately, in order to survive, she had betrayed Lin Ling. You don't need to thank me. The reason I reminded Tian Wuzi was because, first, I didn't want him to feel burdened by fighting me. I wanted him to go all out. Second, I wanted you to see the difference between my help and Tian Wuzi's. However, Lin Ling coldly replied, no matter what, I still have to thank you. You also know that my goal is to go higher and further, so I didn't intentionally betray you. Skyfall Dust explained. Everything she did was to become stronger, but when it came to choosing, she clearly chose Tian Wuzi to help her. You will understand. Lin Ling didn't explain anything and looked at Tian Wuzi. I'll let you have one move. Tian Wuzi originally wanted to protect Skyfall Dust, but at this moment, an exceptional genius came over to protect him, so he also walked out. The price for letting me have one move is very great. Lin Ling calmly replied. Haha, truly a formidable opponent. If you didn't kill Xueqi, I would want to meet you even more. However, with your previous sword heart, you can't defeat me. Come, I said I'll let you have one move, so I'll let you have one move. I can also tell you that among the 100 exceptional geniuses, outside of the 81st prince, I'm not afraid of anyone else. Tian Wuzi stood there like a giant with an extremely domineering aura. However, right after he spoke, Lin Ling also attacked with his sword. Since the other party said he would let him have one move, then he would fulfill his wish. Azura's sword. Lin Ling held the Azura's sword in his hand and moved with the wind. With the speed of 7 realms, it shot towards Tian Wuzi. The huge sword left a long afterimage in the void. This sword undoubtedly caused the other exceptional geniuses to lick their lips. They could feel the tyranny and sharpness of this sword. However, Lin Ling's previous attack seemed to be useless against Tian Wuzi. Would it be useful now? The 7th level of True God is your weakness. Tian Wuzi also spoke with confidence. Not necessarily. However, Lin Ling's voice instantly floated out. Moreover, in the air, flames spewed out. The huge sword actually turned into a flaming sword as if it was a fire monument. At the same time, Lin Ling's boundary essence continuously rose as if it was turning corporeal. What? Feeling the sudden increase in boundary essence power, Tian Wuzi's expression changed. He put his palms together and countless Vajra roars resounded. Rumble. Chapter 2801. The second seal of the True God Martial Spirit was unsealed. Everyone heard a deafening sound and saw a giant appear on the 5th floor. It was Tian Wuzi. His body was like a pagoda and his aura was terrifying. However, a huge sword was slashing towards him. At first, it couldn't move Tian Wuzi at all. However, just as they were about to get lucky, the sword suddenly changed. The sword suddenly changed. It became even more domineering and majestic. Under the sword, Tian Wuzi was sent flying. Golden blood gushed out from his chest and landed on the ground. It actually turned into golden Buddhist scriptures. Rumble. Tian Wuzi was sent flying, breaking through a large amount of astral wind on the 5th floor. Tian Wuzi couldn't withstand this sword. I'm sorry, but other than the 81st prince, there's one more person, and that's me. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling's voice floated out. This time, not only was it shocking, even Tian Wuzi, Xueqi, Chen Mo, and the others were shocked. He's so strong. Xueqi's face was pale. Last time, he already felt that Lin Ling couldn't be underestimated. Today, he knew that his intuition wasn't wrong. Moreover, he actually pleaded for Lin Ling. In fact, Lin Ling didn't need to plead at all. They were all wrong. If Tian Wuzi wanted to kill Lin Ling wasn't completely powerless. Amazing, amazing. Master Tian Wuzi took a few steps back and finally managed to stop himself from charging forward. He spoke with a serious tone. He thought that Lin Ling's strongest point was that sword, but now, he realized that Lin Ling's boundary essence and talent weren't weak at all. Thank you for the compliment. Lin Ling stood there with his sword in hand and replied indifferently. You have 2 great divine bodies, and both of them have great origins. No wonder you're not afraid of my divine body. Moreover, you have a sword heart that exceeds 100% and cultivated some kind of secret technique to increase your boundary essence. You're the most terrifying genius I've ever seen who can fight above their level. Tian Wuzi said again. Cut the flattery. In fact, I also want to see your full strength. Lin Ling calmly said. The reason he reminded Tian Wuzi to help Tian Luochen was because he didn't want to take advantage of Tian Wuzi. He wanted to fight Tian Wuzi with his full strength and see his limits. As you wish. Tian Wuzi also knew that if he didn't go all out, he wouldn't be able to beat Lin Ling. Without the heart, without the heart, without the heart, without the 6 dust and 10,000 laws, it is indestructible. Tian Wuzi muttered, as if he was speaking Buddhist words. Wave after wave of powerful auras immediately pervaded the air. Golden light shone resplendently, shooting in all directions like needles. Not far out, an exceptional talent immediately released a cry of pain, because when the radiance landed on his body, he was actually pierced full of holes. Unfortunately, after the pain, he was immediately minced into pieces by the strong winds of the 5th level. This is the Vajra subduing demons form. However, the exceptional talents outside didn't pay him any attention, instead staring at Master Tianwu. This was because a gigantic Vajra Dharma idol had appeared behind Tian Wuzi, each of them exuding an aura without being angry. Moreover, a Vajra scepter had also appeared in Tian Wuzi's hand. Tian Wuzi should have undone the 2nd seal of the True Divinity Martial Spirit. Someone said with a serious voice. It was a 3 Mox heavenly monarch. He knew just how terrifying the current Tian Wuzi was. The True Divinity realm was the most powerful cultivation realm. Together with his innate talent that surpassed other exceptional talents, as well as his Buddhist heart, this was precisely Tian Wuzi. However, what was terrifying was that Tian Wuzi was even able to unseal the 2nd seal of the True Divinity Martial Spirit. This was strengthening on top of the strong. It seems like after comprehending the Buddha for 1,000 years, he finally unsealed the 2nd seal of the True Divinity Martial Spirit. True Divinity Martial gods who can unseal the 1st seal are all number 1s under Green Province's 9 Great Heavens. The 2nd seal, TSK, among exceptional talents, who else could it be other than him? Perhaps Tian Wuzi also has a chance to become the Green Emperor, because he is also the only exceptional talent with the second seal among the second-grade divine bodies. The exceptional talents in the surroundings spoke one after another, their eyes only filled with worship and fanaticism. In reality, among exceptional talents, there were people who unsealed the second seal of the true divinity martial spirit, but their innate talents weren't high, so the power they brought wasn't great. Everyone knew that the greater one's innate talent, the harder it was to unseal, but the power would also be greater. Tian Wuzi was clearly one of the best. Vajra subdues demons. Ignoring the voices around him, Tian Wuzi held the Vajra pestle in his hand and shot it at Lin Ling with a speed exceeding 6 realms. The golden Vajra pestle exploded with a surging aura, as if it wanted to suppress Lin Ling like a demon. Seeing this, Xian Linglong and Meng Lu both secretly broke out in cold sweat for Lin Ling. At this moment, they were very conflicted. They hoped that Lin Ling would become stronger, but they also hoped that Lin Ling would be defeated. However, they couldn't deny that they were worried about Lin Ling. Lin Ling's world essence has always been a mystery. However, in the end, he isn't at the peak of the true divinity realm, so using cultivation methods to increase his world essence is illusory and can only be used for a short period of time. Now that he is facing Tian Wuzi, who truly has an enormous amount of Buddha energy, his world essence can't display its power. Tian Wuzi's Vajra pestle. I'm afraid even martial immortals can't block it. The other side of Buddha is demon. Tian Wuzi's 1,000 years of enlightenment is not below the Buddha Lord, but rather below the demon lord. Xian Linglong and Meng Lu said one after another. Especially Meng Lu, he seemed to have figured out Tian Wuzi's origin. However, what terrified them was that Lin Ling didn't move in the face of that huge Vajra pestle. He stood there like a pine tree, his long robe fluttering in the wind. He slowly raised his right hand and raised that huge ancient sword. On the sword's body, surging flames burned. Lin Ling, could it be that he wants to meet force with force? Facing Tian Wuzi who has unsealed the second seal, isn't he courting death? His realm is inferior to Tian Wuzi's, his true divinity martial spirit is inferior, and he hasn't unsealed it either. How can Lin Ling fight? I think he's dead for sure. That sword will definitely shatter. Lin Ling's action undoubtedly shocked all the exceptional talents. Moreover, all of them shook their heads. However, in the next moment, everyone's voices disappeared. Because Lin Ling's sword and the Vajra pestle collided, creating a terrifying shockwave. However, Lin Ling's sword didn't break. With his cultivation of the 7th true divinity realm, he was actually able to block Tian Wuzi's attack. Moreover, this was the second seal. What's more, Lin Ling blocked it cleanly. All of this exceeded everyone's logic. Because that was a pestle that even martial immortals couldn't block. A bit powerful, but your boundary essence is raised by a secret technique. It definitely won't last long. Bang! Even Tian Wuzi was shocked. This Lin Ling was getting stronger and stronger. However, he was still confident. Vajra demon subduing. Bang! He roared, increasing the power of the Vajra pestle in his hand. 18 Vajras appeared around him. Each of the Vajras glared at Lin Ling as if they wanted to use their gazes to suppress Lin Ling. However, under the suppression of this terrifying Vajra pestle, Lin Ling's sword was firmly unsheathed. Even Lin Ling's figure didn't retreat at all. Impossible. Vajra worship Buddha. Roar. Tian Wuzi roared again. A pagoda appeared between his brows. Rumble. The 5th level began to tremble as if it was about to shatter. However, Lin Ling was still as unmoving as a mountain. Lightning power. Thunder. Chapter 2802. He had to walk his own path. Right now, he had already merged his 2 dantians and pushed his demonic flame change to the limit. He wanted to see where his limit was. However, it was clear that Tian Wuzi's all-out attack was unable to shake him. Therefore, Lin Ling decided to waste his time and pushed his 3rd dantian to the limit. Moreover, this was not Lin Ling's true god martial spirit unsealed. If he unsealed it, the flame coffin would be even stronger. Kacha! Lin Ling slashed out with his sword. A deafening sound rang out. The Vajra scepter that represented invincibility immediately cracked and shattered. Endless golden light sprinkled down from the sky. Then, a figure flew out and smashed into the ground. It was as if the heavens and earth had collapsed on the 5th floor. "Who the hell are you?" Tian Wuzi spat out a mouthful of blood. He struggled to stand up and roared. In terms of cultivation level, talent, and cultivation time, he was above Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling was above him in terms of ultimate martial arts, the difference between them was not that great. Most importantly, he had the second seal of the true god martial spirit. However, he had actually lost to Lin Ling. He could not understand at all. However, Lin Ling did not say a word. He held his giant sword and walked towards Tian Wuzi. Because what Tian Wuzi asked was Lin Ling's biggest secret. He would definitely not answer. "If you want to ask who I am, perhaps I'm someone you want to kill." Before he even got close to Tian Wuzi, Lin Ling slashed out with his sword. That terrifying slash contained world essence that surpassed the true god realm. It directly cut Tian Wuzi in half. Even the astral wind on the 5th floor was completely cut apart. That slash was terrifying. That's too abnormal. This guy walked through the 5th floor as easily as drinking water. Tian Wuzi has lost. Without any suspense, all of the exceptional talents roared out. They never would have thought that an exceptional talent ranked in the top 3 would appear here. He might be able to fight against the 81st prince. Ironically, when they knew that Tian Wuzi wanted to kill Lin Ling, many of them sympathized with Lin Ling's Wahai, even pleaded for Lin Ling. In the end, who killed who? His strength. Chen Nan Nan, Fian, Meng Lu, and Xian Linglong were all familiar with Lin Ling. At this moment, they were the most shocked. They had always thought that they had seen through Lin Ling, but now they discovered that what they had seen through was only the tip of the iceberg. At this moment, Lin Ling withdrew his sword and disappeared from the 5th level. He moved with the wind and prepared to enter the next level. "Wait! Junior brother Lin Ling. Help me!" However, a panicked voice suddenly rang out. It was Skyfall Dust. After Tian Wuzi's death, the exceptional talent who protected Skyfall Dust was too lazy to care about her. Without the protection of others, Skyfall Dust could not withstand the astral winds of the 5th level. Moreover, this was because Lin Ling had cut through the astral winds, so the winds were still brewing. Otherwise, Skyfall Dust would have died a long time ago. "You walk your own path." Lin Ling's indifferent voice drifted through the wind, making Skyfall Dust powerlessly sit on the ground. There was only a trace of regret in her eyes. Lin Ling had helped her on the 1st, 4th, and even the 5th level. Unfortunately, she wanted to go higher and chose to leave Lin Ling. Now, without Lin Ling, she really could not do anything. "Junior brother Lin Ling. No. Help me. Everyone, help me." Skyfall Dust cried and begged for everyone's help. Unfortunately, everyone only sneered at her. Not to mention whether or not they could help. Even if they could, they wouldn't help. Skyfall Dust was so confident, so formidable, then she should walk her own path. What was the point of begging others? "Junior brother Lin Ling, I was wrong." Skyfall Dust continuously kowtowed in pain. However, this time, the junior brother who had helped her in the past had already disappeared without a trace. What welcomed her was a vicious astral wind that came from the universe. This was the first wind of the universe's primal chaos. The wind blew past. Skyfall Dust turned into nothingness. She wanted to go higher, but relying on herself was impossible. That was why she could only rely on others. Unfortunately, she had let down someone who had helped her. How lamentable. In this world, martial artists use all kinds of methods to become stronger, yet Skyfall Dust chose the wrong path. When they saw this, many exceptional talents sighed and shook their heads. The greatest difference between them and Skyfall Dust was that they knew their own limits. Lin Ling has passed the 5th level. However, soon after, someone spoke with a grave voice. This time, outside the gate in the 5th level, it instantly became deathly silent. The world beyond the 5th level was the world of heaven's favored children. It meant that there was a chance to touch the Green Emperor's Jade Seal. In the beginning, everyone was guessing who would reach that world. Some guessed it would be Chen Mo, some guessed it would be Tian Wuzi, and even more people thought it would be the 81st prince. However, no one expected that Lin Ling would also be among the people who entered the next world. Perhaps he will represent the imperial court to seize the Green Emperor's Jade Seal. Xian Linglong and Meng Lu suddenly became excited, their emotions surging. First, if Lin Ling obtained the Green Emperor's Jade Seal, they would also obtain benefits. Second, This would also bring glory to the imperial court. This was beneficial to them, so they were very excited. Haha, someone from our imperial court has entered the next level. Outside the gate, Chen Nandu and Fian also shouted, making the surrounding exceptional talent silent. They felt as if they were dreaming. However, Lin Ling did not know about their excitement because he had already walked out of the 5th level and appeared in the long corridor. After he smiled, he took out the Emperor crystals and refined them while walking forward. This trip to the Copper Sparrow Pavilion was a great harvest for him. And this time, he extorted a lot of Emperor crystals, which was enough to greatly improve his 1st, 2nd, and 3rd dantians. In reality, it was indeed so. On the 6th level, the rolling tribulation clouds attacked. This was the earth element cloud, which was exactly the same as the cloud saint ground. Therefore, Lin Ling cultivated as he walked forward. He actually broke through again and entered the 8th level of the true god realm. And after that, he used all the Emperor crystals on the other 2 dantians, allowing them to enter the range of the 7th level of the true god realm. This time, his strength had increased by a full 2 times. However, this kind of extravagant burning of money ended very quickly because the cultivation of the 3 dantians could not be squandered no matter how many Emperor crystals he had. Looks like I can only wait for the final reward. Lin Ling's gaze fell on the Green Emperor's jade seal. In between steps, he walked past the 6th level with familiarity and reached the 7th level. The 7th level was the same tribulation cloud that Lin Ling walked past. It was the wood tribulation cloud, and he easily passed through it again. He even had a feeling that these tribulation clouds seemed to recognize him. Not only did they not stop him, they even took the initiative to give way. It looked like there were some benefits in ringing the Green Province Divine Bell. And the 8th level was also close at hand. Chapter 2803. The Third Rising Mortal Star. One of the 2 mortal stars must be the 81st Prince. He has reached the 8th floor. Yes. The other one is Tantai Bing Dai. Yes. The magnates frowned and looked at Tong Man. Clearly, they had guessed the identity of the 2 mortal stars. On the other hand, Tong Man smiled mysteriously and didn't seem to be surprised by this scene. As expected of the destiny god Yes, an expert thought to himself. So what? Tantai Bing Dai can't compare to the 81st Prince. She can reach the peak, but that is her limit. Many people nodded in agreement. Only the leaders of the Qing province knew the identity of the 81st Prince. That's right, said someone with great determination. However, the person behind the scenes was the 3rd Prince. He obviously wouldn't give up so easily. His calm voice floated out. The 8th floor is the most crucial floor. Victory and defeat will depend on this floor. It's too early to speak now. Be careful of slapping your own face. Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone stared at the sky, agreeing with the 3rd Prince's words. An expert from the Imperial Court wanted to say something, but at this moment, a voice came from the side. Wait, another mortal star has appeared on the 8th floor. Yes. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked and raised their heads. Instantly, they saw a common star slowly floating in the dark night and actually catching up to the other 2 common stars. Who is this person? Could it be that one of the 4 magnates was hiding something and reached the 8th floor? Yes. Without any suspense, everyone felt disbelief. One had to know that the 81st Prince and Tantai ice sculpture were able to reach the 8th level. They were clearly hiding some powerful methods, and now there was another one. This made people feel that after the Qing Prefecture Divine Bell rang, many strange things would happen. Instinctively, the experts also looked at the leaders of the magnates as they tried to figure out something from their expressions. However, the magnates of the Imperial Court and the Left Minister's residence all frowned. They were not sure. On the other hand, Tong Man of the Imperial Court suddenly laughed after being stunned. The Imperial Court again. Yes. At this moment, everyone felt very vexed. The Imperial Court had actually given birth to 2 common star cultivators. This was too enviable. If I'm not wrong, that dazzling mortal star should be Lin Ling. Copper Man did not hide anything and said with a smile, Lin Ling? It's him again. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes flickered. Among them, the Azure Dragon King and the others had the most complicated expressions. This Lin Ling, no matter when, as long as it was an earth-shattering occasion, he would definitely join in. He would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. They were obviously very angry about this. Lin Ling. Of course, there were some powerhouses who didn't know Lin Ling. They were only familiar with him through conversations. Therefore, they didn't think that this side character had the qualifications to meddle with the Emperor's fate. No matter how many ordinary stars appear, the Qing Emperor's jade seal belongs to the 81st prince. The 9th prince's voice also drifted out, mixed with a strong sense of confidence. In his opinion, whether it was Lin Ling or Tantai Bing Dai, they were all mortals. How could they compete with the 81st prince who had the Qing Emperor's bloodline? Mortals were mortals. At this moment, on the 8th floor, demonic clouds were rolling, causing this floor to be very quiet. Moreover, this floor was not very big, only 100 meters in radius. However, there were many demonic gods engraved on the walls, giving people a very oppressive feeling. Pa! 2 figures stood on the 8th floor and walked forward with steady steps. It seemed to be 100 meters in radius, but each step was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Demonic barrier, and it's even more terrifying than the illusions I've encountered in my entire life. Tantai Bing Dai was sweating profusely. She looked exhausted because a large amount of demonic barriers were attacking her body. It was as if a huge rock was pressing down on her soul. These demonic barriers were very frightening and were something she had seen in her life. If she didn't wear a mysterious extreme treasure, she would have died long ago. It was because of the extreme treasure her master gave her that she was able to reach this point. She even thought about the treasure her master gave her and the words she had once said. In the 9 provinces, those who obtain the Jade Seal have a great chance of obtaining the Emperor's fate. This Rongchen Classic Jade contains a large amount of royal aura and glory, allowing you to be impervious to all evil. It was once worn by someone from the Crimson Province who obtained the Jade Seal. With this jade, you have a great chance of obtaining the Qing Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. Although she said this, Tantai Bing Dai found that the jade pendant did not give her a 100% chance of obtaining the Qing Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. Tantai Bing Dai, you need to work harder. You are only 18 steps away from the 81st prince. At this time, a clear sound came from Tantai Bingdi's jade pendant. I know, but that guy is not human. Under such a demonic barrier, he can still go so far. Tantai Bing Dai looked up and saw a young man still moving forward. He was different from ordinary people and had an extra trace of innocence and persistence. He looked like he was only 20 years old and was not a genius who had cultivated for 1,000 years. This was the 81st prince. During the entire process, Tantai Bing Dai did not even see his appearance. She had always been following the 81st prince and had never surpassed him. The first generation of the imperial court? You are indeed not bad to be able to reach here. However, only those with the Qing Emperor's bloodline can obtain the Qing Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. I advise you to give up so you don't lose your life. At this time, a very warm voice came from the front. It was the 81st prince's voice. In your dreams. Tantai Bing Dai gritted her teeth and replied, Hee, I like stubborn people. They are very cute, but I like people who know their own limits even more because they are not stupid. Laughter came and the 81st prince said again, You can continue to be stubborn, but wait until you reach the 9th floor. After saying this, the 81st prince took another step forward as if he was angering Tantai Bing Dai. Tantai Bing Dai was naturally unwilling to accept this. She had not taken a step forward for a long time, so she forced herself to take a step forward. Tantai Bing Dai, you can't. The demonic barrier in your heart has not been seen through. Seeing this, the jade pendant quickly reminded her. However, it was too late. An even more powerful demonic barrier appeared and stacked on top of each other. There was killing, affection and love, causing Tantai Bing Dai to spit out a mouthful of blood. It was as if she had entered a world of demonic barriers and would never wake up again. However, at this time, footsteps suddenly came from behind her, followed by a soft voice. Immediately sit down cross-legged and don't think about anything. Let him be strong. The moon shines on the mountain. The voice was like sweet dew after a long drought, causing Tantai Bing Dai to immediately wake up. She knew that the only thing she could do now was to let the demonic barrier affect her and not resist. Otherwise, she would definitely go mad. After a while, she gradually adapted to the demonic barrier. Although she still could not break it, at least there was no danger. She could not help but raise her head. Suddenly, The young man next to her gave her a great shock. Junior brother Lin Ling. Tantai Bingdi's voice was trembling. Leave the rest to me. After all, I am the first generation of the imperial court. How can I do nothing? Chapter 2804. The Ninth Floor. Tantai Bingdi stared at the young man, but she quickly reacted and hurriedly said, "The inner demon of the 8th floor comes from the myriad of worlds. It is the 7 emotions and 6 desires of humans as well as a type of evil energy from the bedeviled. After tens of millions of years, it is finally born. It is not something a first-timer can resist." She knew that Lin Ling was very strong, but she always thought that Lin Ling was a bit weaker than her. Taking a step back, Lin Ling was on the same level as her, but even she couldn't stop these inner demons. How could Lin Ling succeed? "I know." However, Lin Ling's calm answer left Tantai Bingdi standing there in astonishment. Lin Ling was like a newborn calf that wasn't afraid of a tiger. He didn't seem to know the power of this floor. However, when she wanted to remind him again, she saw Lin Ling firmly moving forward. All kinds of inner demons surrounded Lin Ling, killing, greed, lust, and so on. Lin Ling's steps suddenly stopped. Not good. Tantai Bingdi couldn't help but shout, thinking that Lin Ling was lost in the inner demons. "Tantai Bingdi, that brat is dead for sure. Do you see the demonic statues in the hall? Those are the people who entered the inner demons. They entered a new world and couldn't come out for the rest of their lives, turning into statues for the rest of their lives." Tantai Bingdi's jade token also let out a sound. Pa! However, the moment this sound came out, Lin Ling took another step forward. Then, with a slow and steady pace, he quietly moved forward. At this time, Tantai Bingdi's mouth was agape. Her originally nervous expression turned into shock. He really did it. She originally thought that Lin Ling was on par with her, but the scene before her told her that Lin Ling was actually stronger and more capable than her. No wonder Sir Tongman of the Imperial Court valued Lin Ling. So this was the case. This guy is still the strongest generation? He looks like an exceptional talent who has been famous for many years. Tantai Bingdi was the Imperial Court's most powerful exceptional talent. She was arrogant to begin with and had an unyielding character that could look down on all other mountains. But now, she had no choice but to accept this. She even saw that Lin Ling's speed was slightly faster than the 81st Prince's. I hope he can defeat the 81st Prince. At this moment, the hope in Tantai Bingdi's heart grew even stronger. Of course, she was even more curious about this Lin Ling who had suddenly appeared. At that moment, the 81st Prince had already entered the 9th level and was completely unaware of what was happening behind him. In his opinion, he had already obtained the Azure the Arch-Imperial Jade Seal. His greatest enemy was not his opponent, but the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. As for Lin Ling, he was still pacing back and forth on the 8th level. Surging demonic barriers like the mortal world rushed into his soul. Unfortunately, Lin Ling had already experienced far too many illusions. He comprehended the world origin seed and returned to the world he came from. It was as if he was reincarnated as a human. In order to find the second dream, he entered the ghost domain and reincarnated. He observed the reincarnation of fallen leaves and rang the divine bell of Qing Prefecture. He had already experienced the tribulation clouds of the devil. "Oh, come kill me. Lin Ling, save me. Lin Ling, don't go." Familiar voices rose in Lin Ling's heart, but his gaze was still firm. All of this was an illusion. Like a dream, a bubble, an illusion that was neither created nor destroyed, neither dirty nor pure, neither increasing nor decreasing. Thus, there was no color in the air, no feeling, no thoughts, and no consciousness. Lin Ling's steps became increasingly firm. No inner demons could affect him. This caused Tantai Bingdi to be even more shocked. She could only watch as Lin Ling gradually disappeared from the 8th level. At this moment, countless experts in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty were looking at the sky. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the Divine Dynasty, and even the venerable sovereigns were the same. There, the Emperor Star was still as dazzling as before. Countless ordinary stars were approaching the Emperor Star. 3 ordinary stars appeared on the 6th level. However, 1 ordinary star arrived on the 9th level, only 1 step away from the Emperor Star. "The 81st Prince is here." After a moment of silence, someone solemnly said. They were very sure that it was the 81st Prince. Tantai Bing Dai is still on the 8th level. She has reached her limit. Another person sneered, knowing that Tantai Bing Dai was not the 81st prince's match. This battle is not only about Tantai Bing Dai, but also Lin Ling. However, Tong Man immediately said, telling everyone that their imperial court had 2 hopes. What's the use? However, the 9th prince sneered and said, you don't know how powerful the Azure Emperor's bloodline is. Not to mention Lin Ling. Even if the 2 of them work together. However, just as he finished speaking, another dazzling ordinary star arrived on the 9th level. The 9th prince's eyes narrowed. He forcefully swallowed his unfinished words back into his stomach. As for Tong Man and the 3rd prince, they were ecstatic. They guessed that it was Lin Ling. In fact, although they thought highly of Lin Ling, it was not because of his talents, but because someone in the imperial court had a high opinion of Lin Ling. And now, Lin Ling did not disappoint them. Now, it's up to Lin Ling. This was the first time the 3rd prince said Lin Ling's name. No wonder Grandma Wendao had such a high opinion of Lin Ling. This newcomer was able to stand out among the 100 first-generation talents. He was not simple at all. It's Lin Ling. Who is he? The 9th prince's face was very gloomy. He had naturally heard of Lin Ling's name, but he had always thought that he was just a passerby. But now, even a passerby wanted the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal. This was unexpected. Even if he reached the 9th level, what's the use? It's just a flash in the pan. The 9th prince said again. That's right. How can a mere Lin Ling compete with the bright moon? Yes. The Azure Dragon King quickly added. He seemed to be flattering the 9th prince, but he was actually very nervous. This was because he did not want Lin Ling to shine like a comet in Qingzhou. Without a doubt, because of Lin Ling's appearance, the entire Great Azure Divine Dynasty was moved. No one expected this junior, who had caused a commotion in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty not long ago, to be competing for the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal today. Let's wait and see. Lin Ling can reach the 9th level, so he must have his own ability. Yes. Compared to the 9th prince and the others, the people of the imperial court were full of confidence in Lin Ling. At this moment, in the 9th level, a slender figure was forcing his way forward. His pace was not fast, and sweat poured down his body. I didn't expect the 9th level to be an emperor's tribulation, shouldering all the lives in the world. Yes. This young man muttered to himself, and his expression became even more serious. This was because the 9th level did not have any tribulations. It was only a tempering of the soul and body. It was a kind of emperor's aura, as if one was carrying all the lives in the world. This mysterious power was the most terrifying in the entire Copper Sparrow Pavilion. This was because as an emperor, one had to be concerned with the entire world, including gods, demons and all the lives in the world. Even the laws of life and death had formed the emperor's tribulation. Chapter 2805. The 81st Prince. With each step forward, the Emperor's tribulation becomes greater and greater. This power is comparable to the weight of 100 realms. Moreover, both the soul and the body are suffering from this power. The youth revealed a smile and seemed to become more courageous as he fought. The Azure Emperor carried so much on his back. If he can do it, so can I. His words were filled with lofty ambitions. For this day, I have been suppressing my cultivation, allowing myself to remain at the true immortal realm. For this day, I have paid a lot. I will definitely obtain the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. He took another step forward. His bones and soul were immediately suppressed by the Emperor's tribulation, making crackling sounds. However, his spine was still straight, and no one could stop his footsteps. This was because he was the Azure Emperor's son, the 81st Azure Emperor's son. He was also a genius of the 9 states. He was just over 20 years old, but he was already one of the 9 heavens of the Azure state. The so-called exceptional talents are like ants before me. If not me, then who? Now, apart from the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, who else can be my opponent? His voice was extremely loud and clear, as if he was giving himself great confidence. Of course, his will was firm and the effect was obvious. In a short period of time, he took another step forward. Victory and defeat have been decided. He smiled again. Pah! However, just as his smile rose, a strange sound of footsteps came from behind him. His pupils constricted and filled with disbelief. Tantai Bing Dai, you reached the 9th level? He slowly turned his head to look. However, what made him even more surprised was that the person behind him was not Tantai Bing Dai, but a handsome youth. This youth's face was filled with determination and was covered in sweat. It seemed that he had also experienced many twists and turns to reach this level. How is this possible? The 81st prince spat out in horror. His heart was in a perilous situation. The person who came was Lin Ling. At this moment, he was also looking at the 81st prince. He had long heard of this person's name. He was the most mysterious among the exceptional talents and had the Azure Emperor's bloodline. Now, it seemed that the 81st prince was even more terrifying than he had imagined. This was because Lin Ling's 10,000 demon eyes could see that this person was indeed in his 20s. Looks like he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Lin Ling thought to himself. Moreover, he could sense that this 81st prince was even more powerful than him. This was the first time he, Lin Ling, had met a genius younger than him who was stronger than him. Sure enough, in the land of the 9 prefectures, there was always someone better than you. Fortunately, although Lin Ling's cultivation speed was fast, he was never complacent. Moreover, the other party's background was much better than his, so Lin Ling wouldn't be jealous at all. The only way was to surpass his opponent's fighting spirit. He, Li Xiaoyao, had also seen the geniuses of Zhou in the past, but in the end, didn't he surpass them one by one? Finally, he caught up. Lin Ling put away his thoughts and smiled. Your name is Lin Ling? The 81st prince's voice was very pleasant to the ears, like the sound of a jade zither. He had also regained his composure. Although Lin Ling had surprised him, it didn't mean that Lin Ling had obtained the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. Therefore, he didn't need to panic. Of course, Lin Ling did have some skills to be able to surprise the dignified 81st prince. Looks like I've underestimated you. Although the 80th prince knew of Lin Ling's name, he obviously thought of Lin Ling as a passerby. I was lucky to climb up here. The process wasn't easy. Lin Ling smiled. This was the first time he had met the 81st prince. They weren't enemies, but they were on different sides. Therefore, he said again, you're more powerful than I thought. It's because you're one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, right? That's right. I'm indeed one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. Moreover, I'm the youngest of the 9 heavens. The 81st prince didn't hide anything, but he still shook his head. This copper sparrow terrace can't be climbed up by luck. At least, Tantai Bing Dai isn't as good as you. However, no matter what you've experienced, I represent the bloodline of the Azure Emperor. Therefore, I can't give the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal to anyone. Following the last sentence, the 81st prince's expression turned serious. If other exceptional talents were here, they would definitely be shocked. That was because the 80th prince was very young. He was always smiling at everyone and had never treated an exceptional talent seriously. Lin Ling was the first. I don't represent anyone, but I promised the imperial court. Therefore, I will do my best. Lin Ling stopped smiling and his expression turned serious. Then let's see who's more powerful. The 81st crown prince spat out these words with determination. He looked ahead and was already moving forward again. Lin Ling looked at the 81st prince and felt even more serious. This prince was indeed an amazing person. Although he had the bloodline of the Azure Emperor, he wasn't arrogant and looked down on everyone. This kind of talent and humility was the most terrifying. Then, Lin Ling retracted his gaze and looked into the distance. I've never seen this level of tribulation cloud on the cloud path. Moreover, it has a mysterious power that suppresses both the physical body and the soul. It's like the tribulation of the devil and ghost tribulation cloud. However, I'm already here. How can I be weaker than others? Lin Ling gritted his teeth and took a step forward. The mysterious power was like shackles that shrouded his physical body and soul, making it difficult for him to move. His body also started to tremble. That was because the power was too strong. Fortunately, Lin Ling's godly demon body wasn't weak either. Therefore, he could barely withstand it. As for soul power, it had always been Lin Ling's forte. Therefore, he didn't feel any pressure at the moment. Space. Along the way, Lin Ling occasionally glanced at the 81st prince and realized that this genius of the 9 states was good at space. Moreover, his control of space was very strong. He was probably the best among the younger generation in Qingzhou. Lin Ling had also cultivated space before. However, he was obviously no match for the 81st prince. The two of them chased each other on the 9th level. Although it didn't seem that big, it took a lot of effort for the two of them. They walked for a full day and night. Even on the great Azure God dynasty's side, countless experts looked up at the sky. They had been watching for a full day and night. However, they were all very nervous. Success or failure depended on this. Of course, compared to the liveliness on their side, the 9th level was very quiet. The two figures were like stone statues. They took a long time to take a step forward. However, the 81st prince had obviously reached the latter half of the level. However, at that moment, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. The Emperor's tribulation has become even stronger. It's starting to suppress my cultivation. Previously, he could still barely resist the suppression of his soul power and physical body. However, it was a little difficult now. That was because most of his space came from his cultivation. If his cultivation was suppressed, then his combat power would be greatly reduced. Chapter 2806. The Azure Emperor's Imperial Majesty. The short distance was like the distance between heaven and earth. It was to the extent where he had a feeling that if another exceptional talent was here, forget about leaving, they might have been directly suppressed to death. The Imperial Tribulation, the Imperial Majesty was inviolable. Drip. His sweat kept dripping, but it turned into nothingness before it touched the ground. It was suppressed by the Imperial Tribulation. He simply sat down cross-legged. At least before he familiarized himself with the current Imperial Tribulation, it was not suitable for him to move forward. I have the Imperial Qi, but I can only reach this far. That Lin Ling is probably even worse. After sitting down cross-legged, the 81st prince turned his head to look. However, as soon as he looked, his pupils instantly shrank. This was because Lin Ling was only 5 steps away from him. He did not realize that Lin Ling was actually behind him and was getting closer and closer. I am one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, and I have the Azure Emperor's bloodline. Although the Copper Sparrow Terrace does not test one's strength, I am more powerful than him in every aspect. Why is he getting closer and closer? The 81st prince said in disbelief. As the Azure Emperor's bloodline, he had left Qingzhou since he was young and had seen the true sons of the other 9 states. Therefore, he had always thought that there were no more than 5 people in Qingzhou that he would pay attention to. But now there was one more person. Most importantly, this person was a passerby. It's starting to suppress one's cultivation. What is this level? Why is it more terrifying than the tribulation clouds of the Cloud Saint Land? Lin Ling had just stepped forward when he gritted his teeth and said. Unfortunately, the 81st prince did not know what the Cloud Saint Land was. This was because the place Lin Ling had been to before was actually called the Thunder Destiny Land. Otherwise, the 81st prince would be even more surprised. If he knew that this passerby was the one who had rung the Qingzhou divine bell, he would probably vomit blood. Was this still a passerby? As he thought about this, the 81st prince looked at Lin Ling. However, the moment Lin Ling approached him, he immediately could not adapt to the new imperial tribulation. His knees immediately bent and sweat poured down like rain. His face was also incomparably pale as he gritted his teeth. However, just as the 81st prince thought that Lin Ling was about to fail, his bent knees made a cracking sound as he stood up straight again. This guy! Witnessing this scene with his own eyes, the 81st prince said with a trembling mouth. Though he was a genius of the 9 prefectures, it was a pity that his weakness was also very obvious. It was precisely because he had little experience, so when he saw Lin Ling being so determined, even he was shocked. This was a real man. The vicissitudes of life, blood, and sweat he had experienced were clearly several times that of the 81st prince. I want to reach the finish line. After standing up straight, Lin Ling said word by word. His words were firm, but his body continued to tremble. It's very difficult. However, the 81st prince didn't laugh at Lin Ling's trembling because he knew that other than him and Lin Ling, the others would be even more unbearable. What I have promised others, I will do. Lin Ling ignored the 81st prince and continued. What you promised others? You are truly a madman. After knowing Lin Ling's goal, the 81st prince helplessly shook his head and said, You and I both know how difficult the remaining path is. This imperial tribulation is a three-pronged test: the body, the soul, and the cultivation. If any of these is weak, then it will become a weakness and the tribulation will attack you. Once you fail, you will die. I know, but if I don't try, how will I know? Lin Ling rested for a moment before continuing. Madman. The 81st prince murmured in his mind. He wanted to copy Lin Ling and stand up to continue, but reality made him want to, but he was powerless. At this moment, he couldn't help but admire Lin Ling. Of course, with his age, Lin Ling was indeed his senior brother. Boom! It did not take long for Lin Ling to overtake the 81st prince. However, his body was trembling even more violently, and his entire body was dripping with fresh blood. His body, soul, and cultivation were all being suppressed like never before. Give up. If this continues, you might die. The 81st prince stared at Lin Ling because a puddle of blood had formed below Lin Ling's feet, causing him to be a bit frightened. However, Lin Ling ignored him and continued to stare forward. This undoubtedly caused the 81st prince to sigh in his mind. He didn't understand why Lin Ling was so persistent. Perhaps Lin Ling was a paranoid maniac. Once he had decided on something, even 9 bulls could not pull him back. Normally, there were only 2 endings for such a person. One was death, and the other was surviving a calamity to break out of a new world. He suddenly felt that the reason why Lin Ling was able to become famous in the Azure Prefecture, and even move him, was because of his paranoid nature. Of course, he didn't know that Lin Ling was able to reach his current height due to his own trump cards outside of his paranoid nature. The triple cultivation of essence, qi, and spirit was one of them. Although the 81st prince was more powerful than Lin Ling, in terms of foundation, he couldn't compare to Lin Ling at all. In fact, in the entire Azure Prefecture and the entire 9 states, Lin Ling was the best among his peers in terms of triple cultivation of essence, qi, and spirit. It was because of his triple cultivation of essence, qi, and spirit that Lin Ling was able to persist until now. He took another step forward. At this moment, his ears were ringing and his vision was blurry. However, he recognized the direction and just needed to move in that direction. In fact, he wanted to obtain the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. Apart from the Imperial Court's reward, he believed that going through the Copper Sparrow Terrace would definitely be beneficial to him. Furthermore, he also knew that Grandma Wendao had asked him to join the Imperial Court because she wanted him to help her obtain the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. This was his intuition. Pah! Lin Ling's numb steps brought him closer and closer to the finish line. Behind him, the 81st prince clenched his fists tightly as a sense of defeat welled up in his heart. He had been born with a silver spoon in his mouth. This was the first time someone had defeated him. What kind of feeling was that? Most importantly, the person who had defeated him wasn't as strong as him and wasn't one of the 9 heavens of Azure Prefecture. Plop! However, at this moment, a crisp sound came from the front. The 81st prince saw that Lin Ling had actually knelt on one knee. Furthermore, a blurry illusion appeared 3 steps away from the finish line. This person was tall and burly and wore a colorful imperial robe with a jade crown on his head. He looked like a monarch descending from the heavens. The Azure Emperor. The 81st prince gasped. This was his father, whom he had only met once in his life. He hadn't expected that the one guarding the last level would actually be the Azure Emperor. Lin Ling had been defeated. At this moment, the 81st prince kept shaking his head. However, for some reason, there was a voice in his heart that wanted Lin Ling to defeat his father, the Azure Emperor. However, this was actually a kind of wishful thinking. Kneel! An authoritative voice echoed throughout the entire 9th level. The entire Copper Sparrow Terrace swayed as if it was about to shatter. Chapter 2807. It was my turn to be the Emperor this year. Their faces turned pale. They guessed that someone was close to the Lotus Thearcha's Jade Seal. The Lotus Thearcha's Jade Seal was of great importance. Once it was taken, it meant that the Lotus Thearch had completely fallen from the throne. Hence, the Lotus Thearch would definitely stop this person. I wonder who it is. Could it be the 81st prince who reached the end? It could be senior sister Bing Dai too. There's also Lin Ling. He also reached the end. Which of the 3 of them will touch the Lotus Thearcha's Jade Seal? The exceptional talents all spoke in shock. However, on the 9th level, the tall man was still looking at Lin Ling with a cold expression. Mere mortals, How dare you touch the Lotus Thearka's jade seal? You haven't cultivated enough yet. Go back and cultivate for 1,000 years before coming back. His voice was reprimanding and imposing. It actually made everyone feel inferior, as if they were really weak. Even the 81st prince was the same. Since ancient times, there have been deities in the 9 prefectures who created the world. If you want to obtain the Lotus Thearka's throne, you have to go through thousands of tribulations. You are not qualified. Moreover, the Lotus Thearch will not be born among you. The Lotus Thearch said again. His words were like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. The expressions of those who wanted to become the Lotus Thearch changed drastically. They were not qualified? At this moment, Lin Ling gritted his teeth and stubbornly felt that his entire body was being suppressed by the Emperor's aura. He could not stand up or straighten his back. However, the Lotus Thearka's words had also ignited his fighting spirit. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. In order to stand up, Lin Ling had forcefully broken his knee. This guy. The 81st prince sucked in a breath of cold air. Was Lin Ling trying not to kneel? How dare you! The Lotus Thearch roared angrily. An even more powerful emperor's aura suppressed Lin Ling. This emperor's aura was formed by the sun, moon, stars, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. It represented the Lotus Thearka's ability to dominate everything. Crack! However, Lin Ling still tried to stand up. This time, the sole of his foot was also broken. Only one foot was still standing. He refused to kneel. However, Lin Ling's mind was in a blur at this moment. The reason why he didn't kneel was because he only remembered one mission: to seize the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. Everything else was no longer important, including the Qing Emperor. However, Emperor Qing's might was not something that Lin Ling could resist. Gradually, Lin Ling's consciousness became more and more blurry. But subconsciously, his strength began to erupt. First, it was the fusion of his 3 dantians, then the tyrannical song sword, and finally the evil flame transformation. The 81st prince in the distance sucked in a breath of cold air. He was certain that Lin Ling was the #1 under the 9 heavens in Qingzhou. Of course, this bit of strength was nothing to the Lotus Emperor. Therefore, in his subconscious, Lin Ling's trump card exploded once again. The 10,000 mammoth's devil eyes seemed to be able to see through the Azure Thearch. The Lotus Thearka's eyes lit up. However, this was not the end. Something terrifying happened again. Rumble! Lin Ling's trump card, which had been hidden all this while, had appeared at this moment. In the sky, the space-time divine monument appeared. It suppressed the Lotus Emperor like the investiture of the gods. It was fearless. This guy! The 81st prince in the distance exclaimed in horror. Lin Ling actually dared to attack the Lotus Emperor. Furthermore, what was that black divine monument? Why did it give him the feeling that it was an existence that had reached the legendary ultimate desolate body? Furthermore, it was a top-notch talent among the ultimate desolate bodies. How dare you! The Lotus Emperor roared like a dragon and raged. Unfortunately, the space-time divine monument was heartless. It ignored his might and continued to suppress him. The Lotus Emperor did not expect that while he was suppressing the youth was resisting with all his might and suppressing him. Furthermore, the youth's methods were extremely sharp. He could not help but begin to take the youth seriously. The young man stood on the ground with one leg. His long hair danced in the wind and his blue robe was dyed red with blood. He looked like a death god from the underworld. He stood shakily and gave off a great pressure. The Son of Heaven's decree is the decree of the heavens. In ancient times, a god created the world and set the rules. The Qing prefecture's divine bell rang, and the Lotus Emperor was removed from the throne. Now, you are obstructing us from obtaining the Lotus Emperor's jade seal. Are you trying to violate the rules set by a god? Suddenly, the youth spoke. It was very cold. However, it was mixed with a strong sense of authority. I am. The Lotus Emperor immediately replied. You don't have to answer. We all know that you are indignant. You are afraid that a successor will surpass you and rule over the Qing prefecture. Therefore, you are obstructing us. However, don't forget that back when you obtained the Lotus Emperor's jade seal and became the Lotus Emperor, you were not qualified back then. The youth said coldly. He seemed to have said it subconsciously, but also seemed to have sobered up. How dare you! How dare you! The illusory Lotus Emperor's face seemed to turn green and red. I am indeed bold. Because I think that the throne will be mine next year. The Lotus Emperor is nothing. The youth smiled. He finally raised his head. His long messy hair faintly revealed an ambitious smile. Suppress. Suppress. Following the youth's low shout, the divine steel of time and space in the sky came crashing down, directly smashing the Lotus Emperor's authority into ashes. Smack. The youth dragged his broken leg and walked step by step to the finish line. Along the way, his body was covered in blood, leaving a long trail of blood on the ground. However, he finally disappeared at the finish line. At this moment, the 9th level was dead silent. It was as if everything that had happened before was just a dream. Only the 81st prince sat there in a daze, as if he had lost his soul. He was the only witness. He succeeded. Yes. Finally, a voice filled with shock floated out of his mouth. It lasted for a long time. Of course, the great Qing divine dynasty was also in a state of madness and rebellion. This was because everyone saw that an ordinary star had finally reached the Emperor star. It had even completely merged with the Emperor star. This scene was earth-shattering, and it caused the entire great Qing divine dynasty to surge like a tide. Even the guardians of the 9 fated lands in the faraway realms were shocked. Especially in the destined land of lightning, the elders were all blowing their beards. I heard that 3 people reached the 8th level in the end. The 81st prince, a girl called Bing Dai, and most importantly, that little guy who caused trouble is also there. Yeah, why is he everywhere? He caused trouble by ringing the Qingzhou divine bell, and now he's going to snatch the Lotus Emperor's jade seal. Heavens, this guy's birth is going to disrupt the chaos of the universe. The elders walked back and forth, and they were so shocked that they were spinning in circles. In fact, they weren't sure that Lin Ling had reached the Emperor star, but Lin Ling's ringing of the Qingzhou divine bell made them think that this guy was simply someone who wanted to see the world in chaos. Now, Lin Ling had appeared on the last level. Everything was possible. Maybe this guy will be the next Azure the Arch. Yeah, even the bloodline of the Lotus Emperor is inferior to him. Where did this freak come from? Chapter 2808. An Ancient Legend. Compared to their guesses, the great Azure Divine Dynasty wasn't sure who had reached the end. Voices of doubt rose and fell. As for the exceptional talents of the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, they all stopped because they realized that all the tribulation clouds had disappeared. This meant that they were too slow. The Azure Thearcha's jade seal had been taken by someone else. But who was it? All kinds of guesses rose and fell. However, none of this affected Lin Ling. He had reached the end, walked through a long corridor, and finally reached the peak of the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. Lin Ling was even more curious about the Azure Thearcha's jade seal. This was the rule set by the immortal, and even the emperors of the 9 states had to follow this rule. Then, who was the immortal? Luckily, the divine steel of time and space. I didn't think that the process of seizing the Azure Thearcha's jade seal would be so difficult. In my previous life when I was still Li Xiaoyao, I missed the time when the emperors ascended, so I didn't know this secret. Lin Ling dragged his heavily injured body forward slowly, but a smile appeared on his face. Because he realized that under the Azure Thearcha's imperial aura, his soul power had instantly increased, reaching 3,000 levels. Now, with the triple cultivation of essence, energy and spirit, his soul power had once again surpassed the other 2 areas. And as he moved forward, his heavily injured body also slowly recovered. I wonder what treasures there will be at the end. Lin Ling was obviously looking forward to what he would encounter next. Following the corridor, the stairs began to wind upwards. After walking out, Lin Ling appeared in an ancient city wall that looked like a beacon tower. Above the sky, purple haze floated in the horizon. This didn't seem to be the Azure State anymore, as if it was another space in the universe. Lin Ling looked around and saw that the purple haze was sparkling and translucent. It actually floated up and down like a tide. Extremely mysterious. And in the haze, thousands of soldiers and horses appeared, and ghosts and gods appeared, fighting with each other. The battle between these experts directly caused 10,000 worlds to collapse, as if it was something from the ancient era. Lin Ling even saw the scene of the creation of heaven and earth. Most importantly, the scene was somewhat familiar to him because it was a bare-chested giant with an axe in his hand. He severed the primal chaos and finally formed a new primal chaos. The giant's body disintegrated. Its flesh and bones turned into rivers and its eyes turned into suns. All of this gave Lin Ling a very familiar feeling. Later on, Lin Ling saw a woman with a serpent's tail. She created living beings. Aren't they Pangu and Nuwa? Isn't this an ancient myth rumored among the people on Earth? Lin Ling's mouth twitched in disbelief. In his opinion, Huaxia was an extremely weak world among the 10,000 worlds, but the story here was related to Huaxia. Could it be that the ancient myths didn't just create Huaxia, but the entire universe of chaos? Or perhaps, there were experts from the ancient Huaxia who came to the chaos of the universe and recorded everything. That was why Huaxia had these ancient legends. The world in front of me is a world that even Li Xiaoyao hasn't touched. There are too many secrets hidden in this universe of chaos. The purple haze in the sky gradually disappeared and returned to normal. Lin Ling continued to move forward. 8 shooting stars. Suddenly, the purple haze in the sky disappeared and became pitch black. 8 dazzling stars hung in the sky, which puzzled Lin Ling. Then, he thought that those shooting stars should represent Jojo. As for the last one, it should be the place where he was standing. Shaking his head, Lin Ling continued to move forward. The beacon-like city wall was very large. As he walked along the city wall, a bright light suddenly appeared in front of him. It was so dazzling that Lin Ling couldn't see clearly. After finally adjusting to the light, Lin Ling saw that it was a huge golden mountain. This mountain was golden and magnificent. There was nothing on it, so Lin Ling directly walked onto this mysterious golden mountain. However, the golden mountain was very large. After stepping on it, a strange feeling wrapped around his body. It actually healed all of Lin Ling's injuries. This golden light is a little unusual. Lin Ling was secretly surprised. Roar! However, at this moment, a roar came from the sky. In the sky, an endless dragon ancestor appeared. This dragon was made of bones and seemed to be made of gold. It rumbled as it flew across the sky. Moreover, both of its heads were looking at Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling sucked in a breath of cold air. That mysterious golden skeletal dragon gave him a great sense of pressure. What kind of secret is hidden in this Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal? Why is there such a super divine beast? Lin Ling almost wanted to run away. However, when he thought that he couldn't outrun the golden skeletal dragon, he didn't want to run away. He also didn't believe that he would be killed by an ancient divine beast when he came here to take the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. Roar! However, the earth suddenly shook. In the distant void, a burly figure ran over, causing the void to shatter like glass. Heaven and earth shook. Then, a huge stone ape appeared. This stone ape had 3 eyes and its body was gray. However, its body was the largest that Lin Ling had ever seen in his life. It was probably as big as a city in Qingzhou. The stone ape let out a roar and jumped up. It landed on the golden skeletal dragon and used its huge arms to pull the ancient golden dragon apart. This one is more terrifying than the other. Lin Ling's mouth trembled. What kind of madness is this ancient divine beast? However, that was not the end of Lin Ling's surprise. Birds chirped as a one-legged white bird appeared and hopped over. Moreover, this bird looked as big as a chicken, but the moment it appeared, the gigantic stone ape was clearly afraid. It looked at the bird with hostility and actually did not dare to attack rashly. In addition, a huge green ox came from the east and slowly moved forward. In the west, a black tiger with 6 wings on its back appeared. It flew over like a black bolt of lightning. In the south, there was a black cloak. It was unknown whether it was a human or a god of the underworld. It was also flying over quickly. Of course, Lin Ling saw that the black cloak wasn't a human. It was just a cloak. However, its appearance was filled with an aura of death. Next was the 3-headed giant dog and the thunder jellyfish king. There were too many of them. These unknown ancient divine beasts were all gathered at the sacred mountain. As for Lin Ling, he was the weakest among them. Now he could neither leave nor stay. He was very depressed. Most importantly, these ancient divine beasts soon began to fight. That white bird the size of a chicken had actually killed the tall and sturdy stone ape. Rumble! When the stone ape smashed down, Lin Ling's mouth continued to twitch. As expected, you can't judge a chicken by its appearance. Lin Ling didn't know the origin of these monsters. However, he didn't expect that this ordinary-looking monster was the most powerful. Wang wang wang. Suddenly, the sound of a divine bell resounded, And then a bamboo shoot silently grew out from the peak of the mountain. At this moment, all the ancient divine beasts stopped fighting and gazed at the bamboo shoot with burning desire in their eyes. Could it be that they came for that bamboo shoot? Chapter 2809. The disruptive white sacred camel. At this moment, the divine mountain was covered in multicolored light. An ancient bell rang loudly, and wisps of purple haze sprinkled down like halos. Roar, roar, roar. The ancient divine beasts around the divine mountain all released angry roars. They didn't ascend the divine mountain. Some lay down, while others looked at the bamboo shoots on the divine mountain with grave expressions. They seemed to be enjoying the purple haze's light. Moreover, the originally barren divine mountain was now filled with a large amount of plants. There were all kinds of strange and colorful plants. Lin Ling couldn't help but open his mouth. What was that bamboo shoot? It actually made the divine mountain grow plants. Moreover, it was clear that the surrounding ancient divine beasts all came for that bamboo shoot. The universe's primal chaos was too big. The ancient legends, the universe's secrets, forget Lin Ling. Even Li Xiaoyao of the past didn't understand. This light. Soon after, Lin Ling's eyes flickered, because he was also on top of the divine mountain. He discovered that the purple haze enveloping his entire body actually gave him a warm feeling. This purple haze was a bit out of the ordinary. My innate talent. Lin Ling released a cry of surprise. He finally discovered the purple haze's effect. It was actually increasing his innate talent. Roar! At this moment, the big green ox in the distance glared fiercely at Lin Ling, as if blaming Lin Ling for disturbing their peace. Seeing this, Lin Ling smiled awkwardly and immediately became silent. Moreover, he discovered that those ancient divine beasts were also transforming, all of them changing towards the ancient bloodline. Innate talent, whether for humans or divine beasts, is the foundation that determines whether one is strong or not. A person's innate talent also determines their upper limit. Lin Ling muttered to himself. Innate talent, that was the foundation of fighting above one's level. For those without innate talent, if they wanted to defeat their opponents, they could only rely on ultimate martial arts and the weapons in their hands. However, it couldn't be denied that powerful innate talent could achieve twice the result with half the effort. One had to understand that even though he was very strong among the 100 exceptional talents, these people's innate talents weren't any weaker than his. The reason he could sweep through the crowd was because of his ultimate martial arts and his most powerful trump card, the fusion of his 3 dantians. But now, Lin Ling's talent was increasing. His god-devil body went from a first-grade god-devil body to a second-grade god-devil body, then to a third-grade god-devil body. It was the same after time and space. Roar! Behind Lin Ling, a giant mouth appeared. It was the realm-swallowing beast. The primordial divine beast on the godly mountain glanced at Lin Ling with a hint of curiosity in its emotionless eyes. They did not expect the puny human to have the body of a realm-swallowing beast. Of course, they didn't pay much attention to it. In fact, they were even a little disdainful. Obviously, there were strong and weak realm-swallowing beasts. They were ancient godly beasts, so their bloodline was not much weaker than the realm-swallowing beasts. However, Lin Ling did not mind. He was a tiny ant to the ancient divine beasts, but he was an existence that couldn't be underestimated to many humans. Tisk. TSK. The realm-swallowing beast's body has reached the 5th stage. So has the flame of time and space. The world-swallowing beast can make me immune to many attacks. There are many side effects of swallowing. Plus, it can increase my power. Now, my power has reached 500,000 universe power. Lin Ling was ecstatic. 500,000 universe power. What kind of concept was that? In terms of power alone, it was comparable to 50 great realms. Even in Qingzhou, it was probably unique. This was not a human. It was a huge realm. The flame of time and space was even fiercer. The flame ancestor's aura was also much stronger. However, the limit of the flame of time and space was the peak godly body. It was not comparable to the time and space tablet. My power has increased again. If this continues, I'm afraid I can reach the peak. Lin Ling was looking forward to it. However, at that moment, a white light flashed from afar. Then, the entire godly mountain shook, making Lin Ling's steps unsteady. Then, he realized that the godly mountain was moving, and it was moving at an extremely fast speed. What is happening now? Lin Ling's eyes kept flashing. His soul power spread out, and he realized that under the godly mountain, a huge white camel appeared. Lin Ling could not see the 4 limbs of this camel. It was as if it was stepping on the ground of the universe. The hump on its body had become the godly mountain. Could it be that this white camel wanted to steal the godly mountain? That was indeed the case. The ancient divine beasts on the godly mountain were obviously enraged, and they were all roaring. That was because the bamboo shoots belonged to everyone, and the white sacred camel wanted to take them all for itself. In fact, even Lin Ling was cursing in his heart. This camel was too greedy. Roar! At that moment, the big green ox was emitting black demonic energy, and it turned into a huge ox head. The ox's eyes were flashing, and it suddenly howled. The terrifying shock wave made the white camel tremble, and the godly mountain was about to collapse. Demon Ox King? This big green ox has indeed transformed. Lin Ling was shocked. He looked at the one-legged white bird. The bird flew up and spewed out flames, burning the sacred camel. Those flames gave Lin Ling enormous pressure. His flame of time and space almost broke out of his body and was summoned away. Fortunately, the time and space divine steel suppressed everything. The other divine beasts also attacked one after another, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack. If such an intense battle were to take place in Qingzhou, there would probably be countless casualties. Even if the Emperor Qing of Qingzhou was here, he might not be a match for these ancient divine beasts. Lin Ling's eyes were opened. He even hoped that the divine beasts would kill the sacred camel thief. This guy was really despicable. However, Lin Ling had underestimated the sacred camel. It had great endurance and blocked the attacks of the divine beasts. Moreover, it was running away at a speed that was beyond Lin Ling's imagination. Lin Ling hurriedly flew into the sky. After all, he was on the godly mountain, and he might be taken to the ends of the earth if he was not careful. Then, Lin Ling sighed helplessly. The godly mountain had disappeared from his sight, and the ancient divine beasts had also disappeared. If not for the white sacred camel, Lin Ling's talent would have reached the peak. What a pity! Of course, Lin Ling was not greedy. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by. It was Lin Ling's fortune to have encountered it. What's this? Suddenly, Lin Ling lowered his head. There was a sparkling light in the sky. He took a step and appeared in the light. Then, he realized that it was a blue seed. What was strange was that the seed was transparent, and he could see some mysterious runes in the seed. This should be something left behind by the godly mountain, Lin Ling said to himself. He grabbed the seed with his hand. What was strange was that the seed sprouted when he touched it. It was like a young vine that grew along Lin Ling's arm. Moreover, 2 tender green leaves swayed slightly, as if a child was waving at Lin Ling. It should be the purple haze on my body that made it grow. Lin Ling could not help but smile. He had absorbed the purple haze before, and there was still some left on his body. Now the vine had benefited. Kunlun. Chapter 28:10. Victory and defeat had been decided. Kunlun. Lin Ling was curious. He touched the leaves of the vine with his left hand and said with a smile, "Then I'll call you little Kunlun." As if it understood Lin Ling's words, the leaves of the vine shook even more vigorously. Although Lin Ling didn't know what this vine was, it was left behind from the sacred mountain, so it must be extraordinary. After being delayed for so long, I still haven't gotten the Azure Emperor's jade seal. After that, Lin Ling didn't stop and flew back in the direction he came from. Along the way, he didn't encounter anything strange. Finally, in the sky, Lin Ling saw a floating boulder. On top of it was a square jade seal. It was simple and ancient, giving people a sense of history. This is the Azure Emperor's jade seal? Lin Ling landed on the boulder and looked up and down. However, no matter how he looked at it, the Azure Emperor's jade seal was very ordinary. After that, Lin Ling picked up the Azure Emperor's jade seal. At the same time, a huge whirlpool appeared on top of the boulder. It seemed to be the way out. After putting in so much effort, I finally got the Azure Emperor's jade seal. I don't know where this place is, but I hope I have the chance to come again. Looking at the space behind him, Lin Ling stepped into the whirlpool. At this moment, in the great Azure Divine Dynasty's ancient palace, everyone was still waiting. They looked at the statues around them and then at the huge whirlpool. Over there, exceptional talents walked out one after another. Each of them had a sad expression. Without a doubt, the exceptional talents who walked out had all failed. Although everyone knew that someone had obtained the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal and that it was beneficial to everyone, they knew that the person who obtained the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal was more important. The person who obtained the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal would benefit the most. They might even have a chance to become the Azure Emperor. Moreover, the magnates they belonged to would also be able to get a lot of benefits. Therefore, they were very curious about who had obtained the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal. They were also very nervous. However, the exceptional talents who walked out didn't have the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal. Therefore, they could only wait. I think it must be the 81st Prince. In the silence, a voice floated out. It was the Azure Dragon King. He was obviously in a bad mood from waiting, so he took the initiative to encourage himself. Haha, since the Azure Dragon King is so certain, why don't we make a bet? Bet with your life. It was by Xiaoyang of the White Tiger Divine Office from the Four-Ring City. Me. The Azure Dragon King clearly lacked confidence. He opened his mouth, but in the end, nothing came out. If you don't have confidence, then don't talk nonsense. Said by Xiaoyang mockingly. Such words undoubtedly made the Azure Dragon King very angry. He believed that Bai Xiaoyang was purposely trying to make him lose his dignity. However, even if he knew, he couldn't find the words to refute. This was because he wasn't sure if Lin Ling would win or if the 81st Prince would obtain the Azure the Arch-Imperial Jade Seal. Someone has obtained the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. It must be the 81st Prince. At this time, large amounts of exceptional talents walked out again. They were Chen Mo, 3 Marks Heavenly Monarch, and others. Their faces were extremely excited, but when they saw the silent crowd, their minds immediately became stifled. Could it be that things had changed? 9th Prince. Did the 81st Prince obtain the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal? The 3 Marks Heavenly Monarch whispered. It should be him. The 9th Prince looked at the huge whirlpool and said indifferently. However, the 3 Marks Heavenly Monarch could clearly sense that the 9th Prince's words carried a hint of worry. That sentence didn't sound very confident. Could it be Tan Tai Bing Dai? The 3 Marks Heavenly Monarch probed. Maybe it's Lin Ling. The 9th Prince replied calmly. However, his words made the 3 Marks Heavenly Monarch and all the exceptional talents' hearts tremble. Could it be that a passerby was qualified to compete with the 81st Prince for glory? Just thinking about it was terrifying. Especially when they thought about how Lin Ling had killed Tian Wuzi. These exceptional talents were like cicadas in winter. They already regarded Lin Ling as an existence that couldn't be provoked. Even the exceptional talent from the left minister's residence, who originally wanted to complain about Lin Ling, didn't dare to do so now. A guy like Lin Ling should be left for these ancient heroes to deal with. Pah! At this time, footsteps sounded again, causing the hall to fall silent. Then, a haggard figure walked out. It was Tan Tai Bing Dai. Seeing this, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Tan Tai Bing Dai had indeed failed. Tan Tai Bing Dai walked towards the imperial court and looked at the 3rd Prince. Sorry I failed. Don't worry. Just try your best. All right. The 3rd Prince was still sitting among the geniuses. No one could see through his identity. His voice was calm. Clearly, he didn't blame Tan Tai Bing Dai. Then who obtained the Lotus Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal? Yes. Tan Tai Bing Dai looked around and suddenly became nervous. Lin Ling and the 81st Prince. The Lotus Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal will only appear in their hands. The 3rd Prince calmly replied. Tan Tai Bing Dai's beautiful eyes narrowed. Thinking about the youth on the 8th floor that she couldn't see through, her heart once again rippled. Then, she joined the crowd and looked at the whirlpool with anticipation. The atmosphere was silent. Everyone was very nervous. It was as if they were looking at the future Lotus Emperor. When the footsteps sounded again, everyone's eyes lit up. This time, it was the 81st Prince. Did you succeed? An old voice sounded. An aged voice could be heard, as if it was eager to know the answer. In fact, everyone felt the same way. They even wanted to see the 81st Prince raise his arm high and hold the Lotus Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal in his hand. Unfortunately, everyone was going to be disappointed. He succeeded. Yes. These words floated out of the 81st Crown Prince's mouth. At this moment, the Blue Flame Army, Imperial Censor Dragon Court, and the left minister's residence all turned gloomy. They had lost the battle between the four magnates. As for the imperial court, they were all laughing. They were laughing very happily and excitedly. Chen Nan, Xian Linglong, Tan Tai Bing Dai, Meng Lu, and the others were all the same. Their eyes were all locked on the whirlpool at this moment. They even forgot to breathe. Finally, the sound of footsteps could be heard from the whirlpool. A slender figure slowly walked out. When the slender figure appeared, the entire hall was so silent that even a pin drop could be heard. In fact, the entire Great Azure Divine Dynasty was the same. That figure swept his gaze across the crowd and seemed to be a little surprised that everyone was looking at him. However, he smiled slightly and flipped his right hand. An ancient jade seal appeared in front of everyone's eyes in a shocking manner. The Lotus Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. As they stared at the ancient Imperial Jade Seal, everyone's gazes turned feverish. Moreover, a trace of fear appeared in their hearts. Lin Ling had really succeeded. A passerby. A person who was just the strongest generation not long ago. He was actually able to seize victory among exceptional talents that were as common as clouds. And his final opponent, the 81st Prince, had also lost to this unknown youth. He really succeeded. Chapter 28:11. The 24 Emperor's Decrees. The main hall was still silent, but the news of Lin Ling obtaining the Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal in Five Ring City spread like a snowball, enveloping the entire Great Azure Divine Dynasty. The Great Azure Divine Dynasty was moving for Lin Ling at this moment. The Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal had appeared, which meant that the new Azure the Arch had appeared. He might be in Qingzhou. Lin Ling, Lin Ling, Lin Ling. The three magnates mumbled to themselves, as though they wanted to remember this name forever. As for the imperial court, the third prince and Tongman smiled and said, "Lin Ling, well done. Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you." Lin Ling smiled and walked forward, handing the Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal to Tongman. Although this item was precious, it was useless to him. It couldn't even compare to the benefits he had obtained from the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. Everyone woke up from their shock and looked at Tongman. "Open it." Someone spoke out, making Tongman nod. His young and tender hands continuously waved about, producing resplendent golden symbols one after another. Finally, the Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal swayed and the entire Great Azure Divine Dynasty was shaken. Bang! A crisp sound was heard and the Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal shattered. Endless light scattered and drifted away like the wind. The imperial court wants 1/3 of the 24 emperor's decrees. At the same time, the third prince's voice floated out from the crowd. "That's too much. You want 1/3 of the 24 emperor's decrees? That's equivalent to 8 of them. You want us to split the rest?" An elder immediately retorted. "That's right. I think we should split them equally." A middle-aged man dressed like a scholar from the left minister's residence also objected. The stage now obviously didn't belong to Lin Ling. He looked at the scene calmly and suddenly understood. The Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal had shattered, which meant that the Azure the Arch had stepped down. The Azure Thearka's Imperial Jade Seal had turned into the 24 Emperor's Decrees, which meant that whoever had the 24 Emperor's Decrees would have a chance to become the Azure the Arch. The Azure the Arch, the Divine Emperor of Qingzhou. Just from what Lin Ling had seen at the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, he knew that the Lotus Emperor had a secret that ordinary people didn't know. It was precisely because of this that the Azure the Arch was against others obtaining the Azure the Arch Jade Seal. However, this was a rule left behind by the immortal. Even if the Azure the Arch was against it, he would not dare to openly oppose it. Therefore, everyone in the world wanted to become Emperor Qing. However, the one with the greatest hope should be the one with the Son of Heaven's fate. There should be 24 of them and the imperial dynasty wanted 8 of them. Perhaps this was what these big shots were discussing. And that was indeed the case. Our imperial court's Lin Ling has obtained the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. According to the rules, we want 1/3 of the Emperor's will. The third prince said again. This time, the other magnates didn't refute him. Many experts from the Blue Flame Army looked at Lin Ling with regret in their eyes. Because if Lin Ling was one of them, they would have taken advantage of him today. It was a pity that they had missed out on Lin Ling. As for the minister of the left's residence, Everyone looked at Lin Ling angrily with murderous intent in their eyes. Even the imperial censor Long Ting felt the same way. Lin Ling had ruined their plans. Then let's split it according to the rules. Although the magnates were unwilling, they knew that there were many strong cultivators behind the scenes in the imperial court. The people present didn't represent everyone in the imperial court. Therefore, they could only accept their fate. One of the 24 emperors will definitely become the Emperor Qing. Therefore, the person with the emperor's will must be protected well. The third prince's voice floated out. He waved his right hand and a sparkling light shot out. It landed in the hands of the experts and turned into a piece of the imperial jade seal. There were 24 of these pieces and the imperial dynasty took 8 of them. All right, the matter of the imperial jade seal is settled. However, there is one more thing that I need the imperial dynasty to give me an explanation. At this time, the scholar from the Minister of the Left's residence suddenly said. He looked at Lin Ling coldly. I heard that Lin Ling killed my descendant at the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. Therefore, he must give the Minister of the Left's residence an explanation. As soon as he said that, the eyes of all the exceptional talents flashed. As expected, the Minister of the Left's residence wanted to settle the score with Lin Ling. The person Lin Ling killed was no small matter. He was the descendant of the Minister of the Left's residence and not an ordinary exceptional talent. If it were any other magnates, they would also take action for the sake of their own descendant. At this time, everyone looked at Lin Ling. Some of them revealed gloating smiles. Minister of the Left, what do you mean by this? In the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, life and death are up to fate. Can you blame Lin Ling for this? Tong Man immediately said. Although he didn't know what happened, he would definitely protect Lin Ling right now. Shut up. You don't have the right to talk to the Minister of the Left. The third prince does. However, before the scholarly middle-aged man said anything, an old man walked out from behind him and reprimanded him. This old man was not weak at all. He was a first-level martial immortal. 8th-level martial immortal. This was the most terrifying strength of the great Qing divine dynasty. Every single one of them was a hero of the 10,000 worlds. Their lifespans were endless and they lived as long as the sun and moon. This old man was the Minister of the Left's residence. His lifespan had almost reached the ancient era. Compared to him, Tong Man was indeed a junior. Tong Man's face instantly turned cold. He clearly knew this old man. The people around didn't say a word and just watched the show. They knew that the imperial dynasty would definitely step out for Lin Ling. But to what extent would they step out for Lin Ling? What would happen next would be revealed. Because if the Minister of the Left insisted on taking revenge for their bloodline, would the imperial dynasty still step in? Once the imperial dynasty stepped in, it would be an earth-shattering battle in the Qing province. The two giants would truly fight. Therefore, if Lin Ling was an ordinary person and didn't have much weight, the imperial dynasty might give up on Lin Ling. Lin Ling, I'll ask you a question. Answer yes or no. The old man walked forward and looked at Lin Ling indifferently. He said, Did you kill Xueqi from the Minister of the Left's residence? His aura was overbearing and he wanted Lin Ling to answer. This time, the third prince's pride was very quiet. He didn't speak, so Tong Man naturally wouldn't speak either. Gazes began to fall on Lin Ling. Among them, Chen Nan, Tan Tai Bing Dai, and the others were worried for Lin Ling. Although they hadn't known each other for long, at least Lin Ling had won glory for the imperial dynasty. Even though us exceptional talents aren't allowed to kill each other, in the Copper Sparrow Terrace, killing because of competition is already an unwritten rule. Xueqi should have killed quite a few exceptional talents in the Copper Sparrow Terrace, right? In that case, for those exceptional talents who died, could it be that their backers also want to get revenge? Lin Ling indifferently looked at the old man and calmly replied. Looking at him, he didn't seem to be nervous at all. Shut up. You only need to answer yes or no. Chapter 28:12. The Power of the Universe. Lin Ling saw that the 4 magnates were all there, so he thought that the third prince was waiting for Lin Ling to speak. As long as the reason was strong enough, the imperial court would not fear the left minister's residence. Who knew that the other party would be so overbearing? Speak. The elder roared angrily again, and his powerful aura suppressed Lin Ling. The surging power of the universe was extremely terrifying. Beside Lin Ling, the other exceptional talents all fell down, their faces pale. The power of the universe. This was a power even stronger than the power of chaos. The elder was obviously not a genius, but his ultimate martial arts were extremely powerful. Even geniuses with monstrous talent were not his match. Because the elder's cultivation time made up for everything. However, in the face of the enormous power of the universe, Lin Ling laughed out loud instead. What a great left prime minister's residence. I thought that as the residence of a scholar, they would all understand the truth. However, this is just me deceiving myself. Xueqi, I already spared him once, but he did not repent, and insisted on provoking me. In the end he died, so Xueqi was indeed killed by me. What do you think? Lin Ling's voice became loud and clear. Good, as long as you admit it. The elder laughed, as if he was laughing from extreme anger. Behind him, the left minister closed his eyes slightly, as if he did not want to get involved in this matter. In reality, it was not that he did not want to get involved, but rather that he was waiting for the third prince to speak. If he spoke, then he could also step in. And now, his study companion could definitely suppress Lin Ling. Wait, Lin Ling is innocent in this matter. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out, and that's Xueqi walked out. I can testify that Lin Ling and my brother did have a grudge, but Lin Ling spared my brother once for my sake. However, my brother was not satisfied, so he attacked Lin Ling again, and in the end, he died in battle. In reality, many people saw this matter, and they can all testify. Xueqi looked at the exceptional talents. You're talking nonsense. However, the exceptional talents from the left minister's mansion all refuted Xueqi. It was obviously Xueqi who found the exit to the 5th floor, but Lin Ling already hated him. So when Xueqi was blocking the 10,000 swords, he despicably attacked Xueqi. Senior brother Xueqi, you've been deceived. You weren't even on the 5th floor. How did you know all this? That's right. Xueqi was your younger brother. Now that he's dead, instead of helping your own brother, you're helping an outsider. You're not of the left minister's bloodline. Xueqi gnashed his teeth in anger. Although he wasn't on the 5th floor and didn't know what was going on, he believed that Lin Ling wouldn't take the initiative to kill his brother. Because if Lin Ling really wanted to kill him, Lin Ling would have done it the first time they met. With Lin Ling's ability to kill Tian Wuzi, how could the two brothers stop Lin Ling? Therefore, in reality, he owed Lin Ling his life. You guys are the ones spouting nonsense. Of course, Chen Nan's group naturally retorted with red faces. These fellows were shameless enough. This was venomous slander. This was especially true for Chen Nan. He was so angry that his body was trembling because on the 5th floor, it was clearly Lin Ling who stopped all the swords, allowing the exceptional talents to reach the next floor. Now, it was Xueqi who stopped the swords. Did these people not feel guilty at all for slandering others? In an instant, the exceptional talents from both sides began to curse. As for the other two magnates, they were slowly watching the show. As for the third prince and Tong Man, they were also silent. Clearly, with the 4 giants here, these experts wouldn't casually take action. Once they did, it would be an earth-shattering disaster. Moreover, it would also allow others to reap the benefits. All of you shut up. At this time, the old man roared, causing the exceptional talents to bleed from their 7 orifices. Their faces turned pale and they didn't dare to speak anymore. The old man coldly looked at Lin Ling. No matter what excuse you have, you Lin Ling have killed Xueqi. Therefore, you have to give our left minister's residence an explanation. Killing to pay with a life. This is the law of heaven and earth. He obviously didn't care about Lin Ling's reason. He only knew that the left minister's bloodline couldn't die for nothing. Otherwise, the left minister's residence would lose its prestige in the great Azure Divine Dynasty. Third Prince, what do you think about this matter? The old man asked again. In the end, he still wanted to see the third prince's opinion. This was also what the left minister wanted to ask. You can deal with these small matters. The left minister and I will not let such trivial matters affect our relationship. The third prince's voice floated out from the crowd. At this time, the exceptional talents of the imperial court narrowed their eyes. Could it be that the third prince was going to abandon Lin Ling? One has to know that Lin Ling obtained the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal for the imperial court. Good, I was waiting for you to say that. The old man finally laughed loudly. Through the third prince's words, He knew that between offending the left minister's residence and abandoning Lin Ling, the imperial court chose to abandon Lin Ling. This was also the correct choice. Because if the imperial court didn't abandon Lin Ling, everyone could see that the left minister's residence wouldn't let this matter go. Of course, if the one who died this time was an ordinary exceptional talent, the left minister's residence wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. The left minister's bloodline was after all an extraordinary existence. Lin Ling, do you want to leave with me? Or do you want me to personally take action? The old man then walked out and looked at Lin Ling with contempt. If I take action, then you won't be able to avoid being tortured. The martial immortal realm is not something you can resist. I will give you 3 breaths of time to consider. As he spoke, he walked towards Lin Ling. Everyone's eyes flickered. The people of the imperial court frowned. They didn't understand why the third prince would burn the bridge after crossing the river. Lin Ling was now all alone. Many exceptional talents looked at Lin Ling and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Lin Ling had convinced them wholeheartedly, but unfortunately, he was too arrogant. In the end, he still couldn't escape the fate of being killed by a giant. Luo Riyao and the others also had serious expressions. Right now, it seemed like they had to take action. However, they could stop the old man, but they couldn't stop the left minister. Haha, maybe this is the first time you've heard my name. At this time, Lin Ling's voice finally floated out, causing the old man to frown. Who do you think you are? Do you think I've heard of your name? If you didn't obtain the Azure Emperor's Jade Seal today, you wouldn't be able to enter my eyes for the rest of your life. He felt that Lin Ling was simply joking. A mere ant like him was beneath his dignity. I know this is the first time you've heard of me. Then let me tell you. I, Lin Ling, have practiced martial arts for my entire life and have never allowed myself to be captured. Lin Ling smiled and said word by word. Behind him, the tyrant Song sword shot out and formed a sea of swords above his head. Lin Ling, obviously, chose to fight. So arrogant. Chapter 28:13. So what if you're a martial immortal? Ha ha ha, I thought you were going to say something. So it's just bullshit. Have you figured it out? I am a martial immortal. My lifespan is 10 times, 100 times or even 1,000 times longer than yours. Are you a match for me? Fine, fine. If you choose to be captured by me, then you'll have to suffer a lot. After being stunned for a moment, the old man started laughing arrogantly. Lin Ling is only an exceptional talent. He is actually so arrogant. He simply doesn't know the difference between life and death. Martial immortal. Have you heard of it? A cold voice came out from the old man's mouth again. His body disappeared and a huge palm grab towards Lin Ling's surging realm energy exploded, causing the entire palace to sway. What terrifying strength! Those exceptional talents were all frightened. What they saw was not a palm but a universe. This is the powerful universe power. Let's attack. That old bastard clearly wants to kill Lin Ling. If Lin Ling dies, we won't be able to explain it to that person. Yeah, I won't be able to explain it to old Qi either. Luo Riyao and the others all prepared to attack. However, a mysterious power suddenly appeared. It was as if invisible ropes were binding their bodies, causing them to be unable to move. What's going on? Could it be the Lord Left Minister? No, it's the third prince. After being shocked, Luo Riyao and the others suddenly guessed something. The third prince did not allow them to attack. Perhaps, the third prince did not want to completely break off relations with the Left Minister's residence. Thus, he allowed them to capture Lin Ling. Damn it. After realizing this, Luo Riyao and the others were furious. Lin Ling had created such a meritorious service, yet he was treated like this in the end? Hee hee, stinking brat. It's time to die. On the other side, the Azure Dragon King was clearly incomparably happy. He was looking forward to the next scene. The Marquis of Sovereign Heaven shook his head. No one knew what he was thinking. Compared to their indifference, Chen Nan and the others shouted loudly. They wanted to rush out and help Lin Ling. Unfortunately, they were sent flying by the old man's universe power. At this moment, Lin Ling clearly had no one to help him. Everyone thought that Lin Ling was dead for sure. However, they saw that Lin Ling was indeed arrogant. Even though he knew that he was no match for his opponent, he still erupted with all his strength. He turned the 10,000 swords into a giant sword and held it in Lin Ling's hand. Unfortunately, all of this was useless. Heh, puny little true god realm, I can obliterate you with one finger. That old man did not even put Lin Ling in his eyes. His huge palm mixed with billowing killing intent had already appeared in front of Lin Ling. Lin Ling's face was as calm as ever, as cold as a knife. Flames appeared around his body, and the demonic flame transformation also burst forth, causing the huge sword in his hand to emit billowing flames. In the end, he drew his sword. That sword seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth. However, the old man did not care about it at all. He even wanted to crush Lin Ling's sword. Rumble. However, the reality was beyond imagination. That sword was overbearing, majestic, and sharp. It was mixed with a realm essence that surpassed the true god realm, and it also carried the ultimate martial path and enormous talent. Boom! With a single sword strike, the palm was split into two. The old man's eyes widened. What was going on? Martial immortal realm. So what? However, he heard a contemptuous voice. It was very cold. It was Lin Ling's voice. Then the sword smashed down again. That's right, it smashed. That was because the realm essence was too powerful. Boom! With this smash, the old man was directly smashed into pieces. The entire palace also shattered, revealing the clear sky. A ray of sunlight shone down, but it caused the broken palace to become deathly silent. Martial immortal realm. So what? This sentence floated in everyone's mind. Lin Ling, he actually killed a martial immortal realm expert? Put on. The four magnates felt as if their hearts had been struck by lightning. Their breaths were like broken bellows, making rumbling sounds. Lin Ling was merely an exceptional talent. Even if he was the strongest exceptional talent, it was impossible for him to kill a martial immortal realm senior. Was this all a dream? In fact, even the Lord Left Minister's pupils contracted. Moreover, he was staring at Lin Ling's sword as if he wanted to see through everything about Lin Ling. No wonder Lin Ling was not afraid. It turned out that his servant had gone to capture Lin Ling. That was because his servant was courting death. All right, let's forget about this matter. Right at that moment, the third prince of the proud sons of the Lord Left Minister spoke. This caused the eyes of the people from the Left Minister's residence to narrow. Let it go just like that? Lord Left Minister, don't you think so? The minister of the left narrowed his eyes. He suddenly remembered what the third prince had said. He and the third prince could not be bothered with such a small matter. If the minister of the left's page boy could catch Lin Ling, it would be the minister of the left's family's ability. What he meant was that if the Lord Left Minister did not do anything, the third prince would not do anything either. If the Lord Left Minister did, the third prince would accompany him. Go back. After thinking through this, the Lord Left Minister said coldly. The third prince's words meant that the imperial court would not abandon Lin Ling. If he really wanted to fight, the imperial court would accompany him. The people from the Left Minister's residence were still in disbelief. However, when they saw that the Lord Left Minister had already turned around and left, they could only follow him. Of course, they all turned around to look at Lin Ling. Their eyes were filled with shock. As for the Blue Flame Army and the Imperial Court's people, they frowned and left in the end. However, they were still shocked that Lin Ling could kill a martial immortal. Wasn't this Lin Ling the strongest first generation? Wasn't this Lin Ling a passerby? How did he grow to such a level unknowingly? Lin Ling, you're very powerful. I look forward to seeing you surpass me. When everyone left, the 81st prince walked up to Lin Ling and said calmly to Lin Ling. In fact, he was also shocked by Lin Ling's strength. Compared to the 9th level, Lin Ling's strength had increased again. Lin Ling slowly sheathed his sword and ignored him. The 81st prince smiled and said, I lost to you at the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. However, you should know that in terms of strength, you're no match for me. I'm also the person you'll surpass in your life. He was one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. Naturally, he had the right to say that. That's what I thought at first. Later, I suddenly realized that the person I want to surpass is not you, but someone else. After Lin Ling sheathed his sword, he smiled and said. The 81st prince did not believe him. He smiled and said, Who is that person? He thought that Lin Ling was deliberately mystifying because surpassing the 9 heavens of Qingzhou was the dream of all geniuses. Li Xiaoyao. Lin Ling shrugged and suddenly said seriously. Li Xiaoyao. The 81st prince frowned. He realized that Lin Ling was not joking. His goal was to surpass Li Xiaoyao. However, who was this Li Xiaoyao? You'll know in the future. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.